Thank you. So, good evening, everyone. This is the Quality of Life Committee meeting for June. I almost said July, but it's June. I'm rushing the month. And I'm Pat Moore, the chair. Mariama James will be here at some time, hopefully. She is the co-chair. We have the chair of CB1 with us tonight, Tammy Meltzer. And we have Onej. I'm sorry, is it James? It's James, right?
That's right.
Right, who is from our office and will be helping us run the meeting tonight. So welcome. So our first guest is Laura. Laura, would you introduce yourself, please? It's Laura Atlas, right?
Correct. Yeah, and thank you all
Right.
for having me. Laura Allen, sorry for the voice. I'm getting rid of a cold, but I'm happy to be here with you all. Thank you for having me. I have a quick presentation, and then I'm happy to do Q&A and talk with folks. I know I've talked with some folks already in the neighborhood, and happy to talk about sort of what those conversations have been like and different kind of opportunities to collaborate and think through things. But officially, my title is Senior Director of External Affairs for New York City Health and Hospitals.
Great. Thank you, Laura. So why don't you tell us? So we're here to talk about the um, hotel on Washington Street where we now have migrant families living, correct? So,
So you have single adult women and adult families specifically. So there are no children at Washington Street. And we'll talk, if you don't mind, I'll go into the PowerPoint just because I think it helps to do a little bit of stage setting to go through kind of where we are in the response, why we have HERCs, and kind of what role they are playing. So this is a very quick slideshow. I'm not going to kind of talk you to the end of time. I just want to give an overview from a city perspective that I think is really important and helpful. So since last summer, so coming up on about a year, over 70,000 asylees have come into New York City seeking help. As folks may remember last year, a lot of the story was that folks were being put on chartered buses organized by leadership of southern states to be sent to various cities, including New York City. The distinction of New York City, and I don't think people really understood this at the time, but certainly it is now well understood across the country and beyond. New York City has a right to shelter. So folks were arriving in New York City and were being put into the DHS system. And just to give you a sense overall, this 70,000 or the plus 70,000 plus is the number of folks who have been in our care. It doesn't count people who've been able to come in and immediately connect with family or double up or find other accommodations. So it's probably a much bigger universe that we're talking about. And then of the 70,000 who have been in our care, there are over 40,000 right now. So we're talking about almost half of folks have actually been able to continue on with their journeys elsewhere. And we'll talk about what that means and how we help them do that. So the sense that, there is not a way to sort of move people to the next part of this journey that you may all have is not the case. We want to make sure that if people have another place to go, family, friends, etc., or even they're just able to move out on their own, that we're able to assist them in that. So in the beginning, asylum seekers were predominantly coming from South America, in particular Venezuela, country and Colombia, Ecuador, Nicaragua. At this point, we see people from all over the world. This is truly global. We see folks from West Africa. We see folks from Eastern Europe, specifically Ukraine and Russia. We even see folks from China. So we really are talking about a multi-continent, multi-country sort of movement of people. A good friend of mine works at the UN Refugee Agency, and she always reminds me every year there are more refugees in the world than there were the year before. Every year we break a record. There is just mass displacement around the world, and New York City is experiencing sort of its share of it right now. So the asylees have been through pretty extraordinary journeys to get here, all different journeys. I wouldn't characterize it one way or another, but they are all harrowing. They have all, in most part left behind parts of their family, certainly left behind, large parts of their lives. And so we want to do a couple of things when people come into the city. We want to make sure that they have access to things they haven't had access to for a while. So clinical care, that's the first thing. Every HERC that we have, and this includes Washington Street, has 24/7 clinical care. That allows folks to, one, immediately address any medical needs that they may have. And those really break up into a couple of categories. One are injuries that have been incurred on the journey over. So, for instance, we see a lot of injuries on feet because people have been walking, or legs. But we also see folks who have chronic illnesses that they haven't been able to manage because they have been on the journey over. We've seen people, arrive off of buses and have epileptic seizures because they haven't had access to that medicine. So we want to cover all of that kind of at the beginning of the process. And so that used to just happen in the HERCs. And I'll go on to talk about our newest sort of piece of the program, which is the Arrival Center. And the Arrival Center is doing this for everybody, whether you're staying in a HERC, in DHS, or a respite center. So we want to make sure that nobody is sort of stranded once they're in New York City. We have all of these amazing medical resources, have the public hospital system, let's leverage them. There are also, at every HERC, there are case managers and social workers on site 24/7. So the case managers typically will take like some quantity of floors, sort of assign themselves, get to know the people on the floors, and become kind of their resource navigators. They're going to make sure that folks know what they are eligible for, what they are not eligible for. And I think this is a lot of the crux of the issue here, is that there's a lot of ineligibility for temporary status. And then if there are folks who have scored high on the PHQ, which is the depression screener, or issues have been raised during intake, or caseworkers notice some kind of behavior pattern or concerning, flags, stress, distress, PTSD, then they can also connect with a social worker, and the social worker will really take them through to essentially like longitudinal care for mental health. That's also really important for us because everybody is going to have probably a pretty traumatic story of how they arrived here. So all of that is kept within the site. School enrollment exists in the sites that have younger kids. We don't have it for older kids, but what we do have at Washington, which is really special, is a partnership with DYCD to provide English language courses to the folks living there. So we have a few hundred people who are able to access those courses completely free. It's been going very well. We have food provided 3 meals a day with snacks, etc. And we've done a lot of surveys to make sure people are happy with the food quality. We have healthcare enrollment. So as a public hospital system, this is important for us. Metro Health Plus tables at our sites. They can enroll people, predominantly that people are enrolled in the essential plan, which is like New York State Medicaid. But if they aren't eligible for that, which is possible, then they will be able to be enrolled in NYC Care, which is New York City Health and Hospitals access to healthcare, so that no matter what, they can be plugged into a larger system. They're not just relying on kind of the urgent care in the HERC. So this is just sort of spelling out all of the different services that we have. A couple of more things to call out. We have supplies on site. I like to call it the free Costco. There are supply rooms in every site where people can get anything you can imagine, any hygiene product, clothing, you know, sort of, if you can think of it, we probably have it on in the supply room, and we encourage people to take advantage of it. There's no limitations. And then resettlement services. So we do this in the Arrival Center also, but we have it built into the sites because maybe somebody has arrived, and this is especially true in the single adult population. Somebody will say, okay, I'm a single adult woman. I just arrived here. I know that I only need to be here for 3 weeks. Why do they only need to be here for 3 weeks? Because that's when either they can send enough money over back home and the rest of their family can begin to move over, and then they're going to resettle somewhere else, or just the rest of their family is on their way and hasn't arrived yet. So there is a lot of that happening with resettlement. There's also cases where people arrive and they say, I have an aunt, but she hasn't picked up the phone. So this continues to exist so that if your aunt picks up the phone, we can book you a ticket. We do airplanes, trains, automobiles, anything you can imagine. And a decent amount of people have been reticketed or reunited or have been discharged from our sites. So we know it works, and we want to keep the options open for everybody. So this is just to spell out a little bit more sort of what the strategy is, and just to give you a sense of the scale of the HERC system. There are over 12,000 people currently in our system. We've served probably at this point over 15,000. And, or no, sorry, about 20,000. That number is a little off. And then in our Arrival Center, we've actually surpassed 13,000 people served. So the arrival center is basically what we want to be the one-stop shopping for everybody who is coming in who's an asylum seeker. They can get all the services that I talked about without being in the HERC system, and they can also be placed into DHS, respite, or a HERC, wherever there's availability. All of that is on site so that nobody's kind of wandering around the city trying to figure out, well, how do I have to go to PATH? Do I have to go to 30th Street? Where do I get vaccinations? This was another thing we learned early on, is that a lot of people who are coming from countries that tend to be less stable have not had a expansive vaccination regime. And on top of it, people are coming from places that have different communicable diseases. So we do a screening at the arrival center for things like TB, for COVID, for chickenpox. We'll vaccinate people for chickenpox right there. We want to make sure that they have that protection because especially folks from South America typically are not vaccinated against chickenpox. So all of that's happening in the arrival center and then also replicated in the HERCs themselves. Now, a couple of things that I would point out, because we do try to offer a very service forward model, is that we can control a lot of the process from the front and the middle. We have way less, and in fact, no control over the end, which is to say that as it relates to immigration courts, as it relates to asylum claims, as it relates to processing for temporary work authorization, that is all with the federal government. So everything that we're doing, we are proud to be doing, we're happy to be doing it, we want to continue doing it, but we don't have the ability to kind of impact the final part of this, which is ultimately people's status being determined as permanent in the way that I think we would all like. Now, a very exciting announcement was made yesterday, which is that Moya is going to be kind of retooling what was their navigation center into what they're calling an application assistance center, where people can go and really work through case by case what their status is. I think the difference between being having a temporary status and a permanent status is enormous in our world, both from the perspective of benefits, the perspective of stability, the perspective of work options, the perspective of moving out. Those things are all impacted by that status. And so the final point I'll make on this that I think is important is that when we talk about asylum seekers, it's really a shorthand. People who are crossing the border are not officially asylum seekers. They are essentially seeking to become asylum seekers. So they've been granted basically a claim, a temporary claim to say, okay, we understand that you're seeking this. We haven't made a determination yet. It could be years. We're going to give you a couple of dates. One date is the date you have to check in at Federal Plaza, and you'll see every day there is a line at Federal Plaza of people trying to check in and say, I'm still in line. And the other is basically like parole papers to say this is your court date. So those two things are determining a lot for people. On top of that, people are supposed to be instructed by Border Patrol to fill out temporary employment applications. Even if they fill it out the day they cross the border, it will still generally be 6 months before they are granted that authorization. So people will still find their way to work, but unfortunately, formal work is going to be more challenging in that 6-month period. So that's kind of a lot of information, but I think helpful for framing this conversation, and I'm happy to take any kind of questions or comments from you all.
Thank you, Laura. Yeah, that was a lot of information to take in. We'll start with the committee. Questions? Mitch?
Sorry, let me turn my thing back on, my video. It's amazing. I mean, this is really real humanitarian work. So just like a minor detail, you had mentioned that, the school placement just for younger kids. So up to what age is the younger kids, you're talking about, like where,
17. So the 17. So it's a good question. So the students in temporary housing and DOE enrollment are in the sites that have families with children.
Right.
So any site that has kids under the age of 17 is going to have DOE presence in those two capacities. And they do two different things. So enrollment will say, okay, we have an empty seat here. We're going to connect you and get the family set up there. Students in temporary housing will say, okay, you need busing, you need a Metro card. They liaise with the principals to make sure there are no issues at the school. They can bring it back to the caseworkers. So they have like a really interesting kind of multi-prong role in the kid-based sites.
So you said, so including 17, meaning up to 18, or up to 17, not
Up to
including 17?
17.
I'm sorry?
Up to 17.
Okay, so like I said, because, that's kind of like that transitionary period where you don't want a 17, 18, 19-year-old just like, they can't legally work. They can't, they're kind of in limbo. Hoping, like I know you guys are stretched so thin that there might be some, English ESL or some type of movement to fill in the gap. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's why we started our partnership to bring English language courses to specifically the adult sites, but also to sites that just have adults. So
Right.
we offer at most of the HERCs English as second language courses, including Washington Street. There's a provider that's very close by who's been offering free classes for a few months at this point. We want to continue that partnership. We think it's been amazing. We're really excited about the results. And any other ideas, right? Like we've been in touch with Trinity Commons, who's been, extremely creative about trying to think of ways to bring programming or offer programming, invite people who are living at Washington Street to Trinity to take advantage of the resources. We want people to have more. We want people to access more. It is very challenging, especially in this kind of 18-year-old population.
Right.
Because it's like there are certain programs in DOE, it's limited amount, called transfer high schools, where basically
Right.
folks can go if they have had a disruption in their education. It has been hard because we have to enroll so many kids right now
Sure.
to also bring the enrollment services to the
I know nothing's going to be perfect. And then I'm assuming that you might need supplies, like anybody that wanted to donate supplies, whether it's like, writing paper or pencils or clothes. Maybe if there's an email contact for you that we can have, or I could have, because, once in a while I'm able to do that.
Yeah, I'll drop my email in the chat. What I would say is that we love donations. We don't ever want to turn them away, but if people are considering donations, think about two things. One is kind of the quality of the donation, right? We see a lot of people who are very well meaning, but we have a lot on site. If things are new, if people have things that are new, we're always interested in that. And two is scale. We're talking about, a good quantity of people, and it's very challenging to figure out who's going to get what if we don't have enough for a lot of people. So just two things to consider.
Thank you. Thanks, Mitch. Finished?
Thank you.
Laura, just reiterate again so it's the former Holiday Inn, or is it still considered the Holiday Inn hotel that's on the corner of Washington and Rector Street? Just again, tell people the residents are only single adult women, right?
And adult families.
And adult families. What does that mean, adult families?
Adult family, it could mean any number of things. It could mean two romantic partners who are over the age of 18. It can mean a mother and a daughter, and the daughter's over the age of 18. It could mean an uncle and his nephew who are over the age of 18. But it's a household, essentially, where everybody is over the age of 18.
Great. Okay. And so let's see if the committee has other questions. Committee? No, if there are no questions from the committee, Richard? Richard?
Yes, hi.
Oh, sorry, Tammy. Go ahead, Richard.
Hi, thank you, Laura. First of all, incredibly impressive. And I have to say, as described, I'm very proud to be in a city that's doing this for these people. So many of us are immigrants or not far from it. My mother was an immigrant, both my parents. So yeah, I'm very proud of it. I was a little confused about the numbers. You talked about 70,000 and then you talked about 13,000. Could you just clarify that part?
Yeah.
My
Yeah,
first
absolutely.
question.
It's a great question. So 70,000 is the total who've been in the city system So when we say the city's care or the city system, we mean DHS, we mean PERCs, we mean respite, all of those systems combined. In our system alone, right now, like as of last night, there were almost 13,000 people in our H&H system, not including the additional 40+ thousand that are in the DHS system.
And then my other question, thank you for that. My other question is, I mean, how do you evaluate how it's going? You know, what do you see happening in these centers? Do you feel, are there issues in the communities? Are there issues in the centers themselves? What's your assessment and how are you evaluating it?
It's a great question. We evaluate all the time is the answer. We started off, we had one site. It's for families with children. It's a big site. And we didn't even have DOE on site because we thought, okay, like immediately, what are people going to need? They're going to need a place to stay. They're going to need food. They're going to need medical services for a hospital system. So we're always going to think about medical services. And, you know, like within a week of being there, we realized, oh, we need enrollment on site. So we got enrollment on site. There was a line around the building for it. So basically, like every week, we are learning these things. I will say, in the single adult population, the thing that is most challenging, and it's the thing we are always kind of working around and trying to be creative about, is the worker authorization conundrum that we're in. And I would say this is not an intractable problem from the federal perspective. There was an act of Congress during the Ukrainian, like the height of the Ukrainian crisis, that allowed Ukrainians who are coming here seeking asylum to work immediately. So we know that Congress can actually allow people to work immediately if they are so inclined. We have all been, everybody working on this has been extremely passionate about the need to have that authorization happen very quickly. One of the things that, you know, people may have read about was sort of the migration continuing to move north up to Canada. It's not because like the weather's so great there and everybody likes maple syrup. It's because you can work immediately, basically, as soon as you cross the border. So that continues to be like a wall we run to every day. We try to do what we can to, one, inform people kind of what their rights are. We've done Know Your Rights seminars with certain nonprofits so that people, to try to discourage or, you know, prevent exploitation as much as we can. We encourage people to take OSHA trainings because you're not going to have to work immediately. So maybe take the time to get your OSHA 20 or your OSHA 40. We try to find as many of those things that we can do on the front end while people are sort of waiting for that actual authorization. But we are really up against a wall with that. And on top of it, you know, things like banking, right? So people are working, even if they're working with an actual authorization, they may not be able to bank here because they don't have a social security card. They don't have a green card. So where do you put this money that you're getting? How do you store it? How can you secure an apartment if, you know, all you have is cash, you don't have any credit line? So these are like kind of the systemic things that we are up against. Now, I will say, I think the reticketing and reunification work that we're doing helps with a lot of this. If you have a place to go, we can get you there seamlessly. It's for all of the folks who don't necessarily have another place to go, or the way I look at it, are resettling here, where there is that gap that, you know, we would really urge the federal government to move to fill in some way.
Thanks, Richard. Tammy? You're muted. You are muted.
I know there's somebody I'd like to make sure that we get to members of the public, and so we can give them an idea if they're on a laptop, how they proceed, and if they're dialing in, how they can raise a hand. That's two things I want to make for public announcements, please. So if there's members of the public and you want to speak, please raise your hand if you're on a laptop. And that goes, there's a little hand raise thing or near reactions. And Onej, please correct me. What is the function on a phone if people want to raise their hand? Is it *6?
It's *3 to raise your hand if you're dialing, and *6 to unmute.
Thank you. So those are two things for the public. And then for you, Laura, thank you so much. Is there a contract that is in place? And if so, for how long at this location? I know
Yeah,
that during
there's
the,
a lease. There's a lease. I'll have to pull it up, but yeah, there's definitely a lease.
and how long is that lease and what are the plans? Is
Yeah,
it,
if you give me a couple minutes, I can pull it up and I can tell you the length. I mean, at this point, I think you'll see every day we are looking for new space. We are not looking to close any spaces that are currently being operated because, here's the way that I describe it. I showed you the numbers from the arrival center. We've had over 13,000 people come through. Yesterday alone, we had over 360 people. Every day, the clock starts again for the need for space. So we're not really at a point where we can sort of think about downsizing or consolidating really, because capacity is still our number one struggle.
thank you very much. And with that, I'm quiet.
Well, Laura's going to give us the lease. Yeah, I was going to ask the same question. Also, if there's another location in our community where you have
Yeah.
families.
We don't have another HERC in this area, but if people have suggestions, there's an RFP that has been posted by EDC for a few months, and I can share that also. That has the kind of criteria for what's being looked for. We're constantly vetting sites. We're constantly interested in opening new sites that can support all of the services and all of the people. So happy to share that also.
Great, thank you. Brandon, I'm going to let you go next. And then committee members, if you have a question, please raise your hand now. After Brandon, I'm going to let the public ask questions unless I see.
And Tammy, to
Committee.
circle back, I believe this current lease goes until May 1st of 2024.
Great, thanks. So Brandon?
I might have missed this, excuse me. But about how many people are you expecting to house at this location?
So the site's full at this point. We have every room occupied. Believe we have about 800 people, but give me a second and I'll check.
Committee members, raise your hand. Other than that, I'm going to the public next.
Yeah, we have anywhere between 800 and 900 folks at Washington.
Brandon, anything else? Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to open it up to the public. I know that Tammy, who is a neighbor across the street, Tammy, let Onej see your hand. What is it now? You have to do 6? Onej, what is it for the public to?
She's
raise-
Muted.
She's unmuted.
Oh, am I still on mute? Can you guys hear me?
Is that
Yes.
Tammy? Hi, Tammy.
Oh, hi. Thanks for letting me ask my question. Yes, I live on 88 Greenwich. I'm directly across where from my window I can see, all the activity going on from, Holiday Inn. And I was a little bit confused, and apologies if I might have missed the statement that you mentioned. You said they are not yet asylum seekers, but they are seeking to be an asylum seeker, and it goes through an enrollment process that could take years to approve, right? I don't know if I understood that that statement correctly, but it can take years for that approval to get them to that next step. So you said the shelter is supposed to be in place, I think, until you said May 1st, 2024. But if there are certain folks that, once again, I don't know what this enrollment process is, takes years and it's past May 1st, 2024, are we saying that this date is not definitive?
So a couple of things to pull out. So there are people who are coming from all different places who have all different claims to asylum. They are at all different points in the asylum seeking process, is what I'm trying to say. So what I was talking about specifically is when somebody crosses the border, turns themselves into Border Patrol, they are not officially an asylum seeker. They are basically declaring that they are seeking to become an asylum seeker. So there are many people in our care. I don't think it's 100%, but I'm sure it's a substantial majority who are in the process of seeking asylum. They're seeking it via the federal government through immigration courts. that process can take years, unfortunately, right? There are reports, I think it's pretty common that you can find people who have a court date that's 10 years from now.
So does that mean, right, so you said if this shelter goes up to 2024, and obviously there's some additional, I guess, not everyone will get the same exact timeline, right? Are we saying
Yeah.
that where would they stay then? Like, if that person, let's say, still
Yeah.
needs 2 more years or
Yeah.
3 more years for, I don't know, their court date, does that mean this shelter will continue to stay open for some of those folks?
So again, right now the lease goes until May of 2024. As that approaches, we will in all likelihood begin to renegotiate and try to extend. We've extended most of our leases at this point, but it depends on where we are in the crisis, right? If we stop seeing, hundreds of people come in every day and we're able to kind of get equilibrium for the number of people coming in, that will be different than if we continue to see hundreds of people, 300, 400, 500 people come in every single day from now until May of 2024,
Tammy, did you want to ask your question about the smoking?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if this is like the right time to ask.
Yeah, I think at least you should put it on the table, so.
Yeah, and feel free to chime in, Pat, if you have anything else to add. Because I live directly, I'm on the 4th floor, I could see all the activity going on. Like I understand all the services you're providing to help the migrants, and we're appreciative of that. But what is being done to, I guess, to curb some of the loitering, the trash, the noise, the excessive smoking that's going on? It's just, I think it's a shared environment. We want to be able to help them, but at the same time, some level of respect also as a neighboring partner, for residents that live next door. Like I guess I just haven't seen much of an improvement. I don't really know what's being done around like some of these issues. I don't know if anyone else brought it up.
No, and can I jump in, Tammy, for a
Yeah.
second?
Mhm.
So Laura, Tammy came to us a couple of months ago telling us that because of the amount of people who were smoking at the hotel, they're standing outside, they're smoking, and the smoke is going directly into her apartment and some of her neighbors' apartment. We brought it up at the first precinct meeting, and the commander said he was going to talk to, I don't know, is there someone at the hotel that we can reach out to? Is there a manager or a director at the hotel?
So we
Something-
have every hotel has H&H staff, like managing it 24/7, right? There's never a point where there is not H&H staff. It changes all the time. We can't have one person there 24/7. But if you reach out to me, I will try to be as helpful as possible. I will say this though, we have security. There are security who do like around. They go around the block, check on things. They're also staged in the hotel. They're on every floor. There is a certain extent to which, though, we can only do so much, right? At a certain point, we can't follow people around the city, kind of encouraging them to uh, behave in a way that I think neighbors might appreciate more. So it's a constant challenge for us. If people are, citing that there is loitering in front of their building and it's private property, you can ask people to keep it moving. We try to maintain an orderly site and order directly outside of the site. But again, it's a little challenging when we're getting into kind of a more sprawling site. And then there's also the issue of sort of like there's other foot traffic around.
Right,
It's
so,
really not
like-
the only thing.
Yeah, so I guess like what are the steps for enforcing or overseeing it? Because I don't know if it's like we need more videos and photos to prove it, but there hasn't been much improvement. And you have to understand these are narrow streets. It's not like you're on like Park Avenue or like a regular street where the buildings are wider apart from each other that allows more movement and smoke to kind of go through freely. But these are very narrow streets, narrower than your typical Manhattan street, and FiDi. So the smoke travels, especially when people congregating. And it's just unclear to me like how this is being enforced when we said we have security guards. Like, do the security guards like actually see it, they speak to the folks and do something about it. It's just
You know what I'm going to do? I'm sorry, Tammy. I'm going to jump in
Okay.
and I'm going to say that we're going to take this offline.
Okay.
We're going to reach out to Laura.
Okay.
Laura, we understand that smoking, you can't stop people from smoking and they can't smoke in the hotel, obviously, but maybe we can arrange for a smoking place for people to go.
Yeah, if
Mhm.
there's a
That is-
place that people can identify, I mean, we've done that before. We did it at the Watson. We created a smoking hub. I think part of the issue is just we're always at the mercy of the space that we have.
Right.
So
I don't know if they have access to the roof. I don't know what's available at the hotel, but let's take it offline and have a conversation with you and the managers at the hotel and see what we can do about this, because it isn't just Tammy that's reached out. Several of her neighbors have also reached out, and I know we can't stop people from smoking, but it is going in directly into their apartments. Tammy, was there anything else?
That's all for now. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks for coming to the meeting tonight, and we'll discuss this offline, okay? So next, Onej or Tammy, our Tammy Meltzer. Someone else raised their hand?
I do not see, oh, yes, actually. Christopher, you may unmute.
A quick question. Thank you for the update there. It was really appreciated. In terms of what you guys do to track and forecast arrival rates, where is that data collected and where can someone see, what's the current trend and do you guys forecast a peak? Because, obviously we all want to be supportive, but there's obviously these hotspot situations that happen and, it comes down to many people thinking, hey, where's the next hotspot going to be? And of course, these don't sound like huge issues. I mean, the one I just heard is frustrating, but maybe the building can at least put some cones around, the intake for their building so smoke doesn't get in. But I mean, just so the rest of us have an idea, what is the current trend and when do you guys forecast a peak?
I mean, that's the $64 million question, right? There was a lull early this year. And then with the end of Title 42, you'll hear the Fed say, well, the border has been pretty slow. There's not that many people coming in. But part of what's also happening, again, like I was describing in the beginning, when this first started last year, we were seeing buses being chartered up here. People didn't know they were coming here. They didn't know why they were coming here. Nobody really kind of grasped how many resources were here. At this point, it's different. At this point, there's a pretty decent understanding that there are a lot of resources in New York City. And so there is an effort, not just on the part of Southern governors, although we are certainly getting buses from Texas and Florida daily at this point. But we're also, we have groups like CBOs at the border who are saying there are no resources for you here, but we can buy you a ticket to New York City and you can go to the arrival center and you can be hooked into this system where you'll actually be able to begin to resettle. So
Okay, do you guys publish that data though? Do you publish it in open data?
No, we don't have, we don't, it's not data that we can track or that we have a sense of. We just know how many people are coming into our site every day, right? That's the only tracking.
Oh yeah. I mean, maybe per site, just numbers like, is this particular site growing? Is it shrinking? Is another site growing or shrinking? Like, how do we
say
see that
this,
data?
every single site in our system is full every day. There is no fluctuation. As soon as we open a site. What?
I was going to say, how many sites are there in New York City?
Well, there are 11 HERCs in total. We run 10 of them. There are also hotels outside of New York City at this point that house people, about 1,500 people. There are also, like 130 some odd DHS emergency sites that host the vast majority of people. So it's a very sprawling system. We're talking at this point about 170 sites. And again, every day they're full, which is why we have to resort to things like respite centers, which you may hear about.
Mhm. Okay, thanks, Christopher. Anyone else? Any other questions? If not, I'm going to thank Laura for coming and speaking to us.
Thank you
So
all.
we are going to, I'm sorry, did someone say something?
Oh, I said thank you all.
Feel better, and we're going to reach out to you, and then maybe we can set up a meeting with the managers of the hotel and figure out some place for people to smoke. People from Tammy's building and people from the hotel, and figure out a smoking area that works for both. Okay?
Sounds like a plan. Thank you
Sounds
all.
like a plan. Thank you so much, Laura. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye. All right. Onesh, we are moving on. So now we're going to have our regular DDC update on projects that are happening in the community. This happens every other month. So who do we have from DDC?
This is your cue, or Amy.
Sorry, who's starting?
Amy?
I can't hear.
Oh, there we go. Amy?
Yes, I'm here.
Great.
Hi,
Who's
Amy.
presenting?
Hi, Amy.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. So who's starting? And which project?
Hi, I'm Amy. I'm the community liaison for the West Broadway Sewer Project. I'm not sure if my IRE or my EIC is here. Oh, I see Deshaun and Sue. If it's possible, please unmute them and they'll be presenting about the project.
Well, let's get Deshaun on.
I also have Philip Stafford and Marilyn Nunez. They need to be
Good afternoon, all. This is Bashir from DDC. It took us a minute to bump us to the panelists. I will share my screen right now, and we will start our regular presentation.
Hi, Fisher.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Great.
Any DDC people in the participants off so they can unmute
Okay.
themselves and talk. Thank you.
Okay, I think I've got everybody.
Okay.
Who's starting? Who's kicking us off?
Perfect. So we're gonna start our presentation right now. So we will talk about the projects in Manhattan Community Board 1. We will start with the West Broadway project. I believe we have Sway and Amy.
Yes, good evening, everyone. So my name is Sway. I'm the office engineer, basically the project staff from DDC that's managing the reconstruction of the combined sewer project in West Broadway. This is between Thomas Street and Leonard Street. So it's basically 2 blocks. The current projected completion date is June 29 of 2024. So we have 1 more year, which is the lifespan of the project. And the percentage of work completed is about 28.3%. So these are some photos of the work that we have been doing. These 3 photos that you see here, this is an upgrade of the existing 12-inch water main. We're upgraded then to 20-inch water main, so larger capacity, supplying better water pressure for the community. This is on West Broadway, west side of the street between 4th Street and Leonard Street. Keep in mind the old water mains were from the late 1800s. So it's great that we are doing this for the community at this time. Right. Next photo. So this slide, it's the same thing. These are 2 20-inch water mains that are upgraded to new 24-inch water mains. So again, larger pipes, more capacity, and again, the old 20-inch water mains were from the late 1800s. So these are more than 100-year-old water mains. This work was all completed. So this is a plan of the scope of the project. So we are actually reconstructing the combined sewers for the 2 blocks. Water main was added as an additional changeover work. So as soon as the water main work is complete, we will move to reconstructing the combined sewers, building new manholes, basically from Thomas Street to Leonard Street. Okay, and next slide. This is just a graphical view of the work that's been done. So all the water main between Worth and Leonard completed. 1 out of the 4 water main between Thomas and Worth completed. We are moving to this location this coming week. The contractor will relocate from the north side to the south side, and we're expecting another 3 to 4 weeks of water main work on the south block. Let me see. Yep. Next slide.
That's it for.
That's it. Okay, so that's it for the West Broadway project.
I have a question for you. When you dug up, did you find anything good? We always
Nothing archaeological, no dead bodies. We are all good.
glad about the no dead bodies.
I have photos of the old cast iron mains that got replaced, and those photos will be included in my second quarterly newsletter, which will go out at the end of this month. So if you would like to receive a copy of that, you could email me or leave a message in the chat, and I'll make sure to add you to my mailing list.
Great, thank you. Committee, do you have any questions? I can't see all hands. So Brandon, I see you. Go ahead.
A couple of questions. Are you all on schedule currently? And if not, what are some hiccups that you're running into?
So we have bi-weekly progress meetings with the contractor, and the most recent one was actually today in the afternoon. And according to the contractor and everyone involved in the project staff, everyone involved, we are still on schedule for the completion date of June 2024.
Great. And then with the transition to this new block work, are there expectations in traffic transitions?
So we are going to keep the existing MPT on the north block, and the contractor will occupy the south block. So we are going to be working on both blocks concurrently. On the north block, there are still some utility work that's being done by the utility company, and the contractor is going to work on the water main work on the south block.
Great, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Anyone else from the committee with good questions, Brandon? Anybody else? And most of the hiccups come when the bad weather comes, right?
Yes, we had a day of delay a couple of weeks ago from the Canadian fire because of the poor air quality. We had to shut down for a day and things like that. And last year we had a couple of days where there was a heat advisory from the heat waves. So in the summer, that's something to look out for.
Great, thank you. So we'll see you in 2 months, right? With an update.
Yep.
We'll be back.
Thank you. So who's next and which project?
So for the next project, we have reconstruction of Greenwich Street. I believe we have Philip.
Yes, thank you, Besher. Can everyone hear me okay? Oh, great. So like Besher said, I'm Philip Stafford. I'm the community liaison for the DDC's reconstruction of Greenwich Street. Try to go through the slides quickly and then have a couple other things to touch on. So this is a full roadway reconstruction on Greenwich Street from Barclay up to Chambers Street. Primarily, most of our work is on Greenwich Street between Barclay and Murray, and that's the only place we're working now. It's a joint bid job, so we're doing all of our water main and sewer work, and also Con Edison and ECS have money in this project to upgrade their facilities as well. Now let's kind of go down the list here. Curb alignment on Greenwich, the west side between Barclay and Murray, the curb will bump out in 3 places, about 20 feet into the street when we're done. We haven't seen any trolley materials. We'll put back the street furniture, new signs, all that good stuff when we're done. Currently installing the water main, new streetlights and traffic signals, and we've done a good amount of the drainage work so far, especially on the east side of the street. And all of this kind of happens while we're working with Con Ed to upgrade their facilities as well. And Besh, you can go to the next slide. Okay, so time elapsed, almost 50%, about 46%. Percentage complete, 21%. that always lags a little bit behind just because that's based off of the payments. And I'm going to skip down to the schedule there. That's our original schedule, saying that we would finish Murray Street in May 24. So because of a lot of utility interference that was unforeseen, we're going to say now, I think officially we're saying probably October 24. So we're adding 4 months to the Murray Street section, and we'll add 4 months to the end of the job as well. So that'll take us, take us into 25 for completing the whole job. And project schedule, working at Barclay and Greenwich, that's a mass excavation area, which kind of means we open everything up and the utilities do their work and we do what we can around them. Also, we're doing a lot of work for the utilities, our contractor. Greenwich and Murray Street, same thing. We have a large excavation, currently trying to build a new Con Ed manhole right there. And at Greenwich and Park Place, we just kind of put in the first run of water main, about 150 or 200 feet. So it's nice to see that go in. And you can go to the next slide, please, Besher. Just a couple photos on the left. That's on Greenwich, looking south. That's it's just south of Murray Street. If you can see, that's the trench for the water main. All the utilities hanging on the left side. We're all over the place, encased in concrete. So we had to break them all out, hang them. You can see the black pipe on the right side. It's covered in sand. It's a new water main. So break out all the utilities, put the water main in, put everything back together. On the right side, that's Barclay and Greenwich, the Oculus in the background there. And this is our mass excavation area. You can see just about every utility that's in the ground is in that photo. And basically, Con Ed is upgrading what they can, ECS is upgrading what they can, while we work around it. And that's ongoing, and we plan to, we'll keep expanding that area. So that's all for my slides, but I have a couple extra things I'm sure you're interested in. Last week, we met with Bank of New York Mellon's contractor for the first time in the field. We've been talking to them since the beginning, but I watched all of the transportation committee's meeting with them. So I know they said they want to start in August, but as it looks right now, our work is not going to allow them to start their work immediately. So our contractor is working with theirs. And basically, we think there's a little more utility interference with the bollards than from their plans. So we're going to let our contractors talk about it. And hopefully our contractor can do a good chunk of their work while we're working. And that would be, of course, that would be a negotiation that the bank would cover any outside work, right? And another thing, if Frankie on, let me see if Frankie's Frankie Lau's in the attendees, if you could move him over. So the other thing is when we started this job, we realized that if we could close the street, it would be a lot easier. And we didn't get a street closure because DOT just the amount of time, which is very reasonable. So we're looking into that again, if we could try to get a street closure on Greenwich from Murray to Barclay, because our work zone is just going to keep expanding and we can't backfill it. And maintaining a lane of traffic while we have all this street open is really slows us down. And now we kind of we want to work as fast as we can, and also so we can get the bank started on their job. So that's something we're looking into.
It's the only street heading south, right?
Yeah, so we'd have to do a pretty simple detour. We think we could go to West Broadway, go to West Broadway, and then you can come back around onto Barclay. We have to look into it. The DOT has to come out.
Would you have traffic agents there to help direct to do something with that traffic jam that's sure to happen?
We have the contract. The contractor has 4, sometimes 5 flaggers on site every day that deal with traffic and backing up the machine. So we think we could deal with that part. But
there's a dorm there. I apologize for interrupting, but there's a BMCC dorm and other things that rerouting traffic to West Broadway does not allow for deliveries and access to the buildings that are between what you're looking at.
Yeah, so like I said, we're just kind of thinking about the idea again. Obviously, everything would go through DOT, but I think Frankie, do you have anything to say? He might still be stuck in the attendees. Let me see.
Yeah, Pat, can you move Frankie up? He cannot unmute himself.
Ganesh, are you there?
Frankie, hold on. Frankie Lau.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
There we go. Frankie, you can unmute.
Hey Pat, how are you?
Frankie, how are you?
I'm good, I'm
Welcome.
good. Good.
Good.
So
So you
like Phil said, the plan is and we're just kicking around ideas because of the massive condensate electrical interference that we have. You know, we're looking at 6 electrical feeders that feed that brings power down to the area. And the problem is we can't take those out of, and we have to relocate all of those on the west onto the west side of Greenwich, and we have the east side open, and we can't backfill that because of all the interference there. And on top of that, those feeders can only be worked on. Condensate crews can only work on those during off-peak summer season, so they can't work them now. They can only work them after October until like April. So that's where we are. We're stuck behind their schedule, right? So our plan is, and we've been kicking around that idea to City DOT to fully close that first block of Greenwich from Barclay to Park Place. It's a simple detour. It's a 1-block detour. We feel that detour is not a massive detour. So that's what we're gonna shoot for. But we haven't really engaged City DOT on that as of yet. So we're working on developing a plan and going to City DOT with that.
Right. Frankie, I don't know if you heard Tammy's question about the dorm. Tammy, you want to say it again?
There are buildings that need access that are down there. There's also a dorm. You know, BMCC has buildings over there. So how are you going to be able to accommodate the needs for the buildings if you're not going to have access to them from Barclay?
Well, I'm not closing Barclay. We're looking to close Greenwich, not Barclay.
And on
But
Greenwich,
you can't get there from here, as the saying goes.
You could go down Greenwich and then you can make a left on Park Place and then make another right onto West Broadway and come back around. It's the access is there. We're not closing. We're not stopping
But
the access to the
if you can't take the right on Greenwich, to be able to take the left on Park Place, correct?
If you're going down Greenwich, correct, you could make a left on Park Place, and then make a right onto West Broadway, and then make a right back onto Barclay. So
that would be 1 block.
It's
Art,
going
did you say you were going to close all of Greenwich, though?
No, it's 1 block of Greenwich, from Barclay to Park Place.
And the good thing about the BMCC building there, they don't take deliveries on the Greenwich side. And actually, they're like, we've been able to do water main work because none of their building services are even on that side. So this kind of little pocket of Greenwich is actually, if we could get the 1 block closure, it's quite easy to work those things in the area at least.
Yes, all of the loading docks. I believe all the loading docks on West Broadway. So there is no building access loading wise via Greenwich. We've had the east side of Greenwich opened up with no access on that east side for the last year.
And you did say, I apologize, but you did say that you told BNY Mellon that they could not start their project at least until Q4, correct?
Well, the problem with that is their work is dependent on us putting in the new curbs, because we're building out a curb extension along that side. So they can't come in and put in their bollard line until we finished our curbs. So their work is dependent on us finishing the curbs, and we can't finish the curbs until we move all the utilities out of the way.
They could work a portion of Barclay and a portion of Murray Street, and also the plaza in front of DC 37, but I don't think they can work there because of DC 37. So it's kind of their decision if is it in their interest to mobilize and try to do these sections while we're also trying to do our work and get out of the way. So if we can if our contractor can work with theirs and do some of the work, so by the time we hand it off, everything's lined up and they don't have to touch any utilities, which takes, the majority of the time. That's what we're working towards.
Yeah, because the BNY Mellon, they don't have they don't have they don't have the ability to, I guess, move the utilities. So it will be like a separate thing for them to do on the side. So since we have our contractor mobilized on Greenwich and our contractor is familiar with the utility work, that's why BNY is having us have our contracts do the utility work for them. Because it's
great.
Yeah, their utility work is not in our contract. So we don't have, we're just moving what we need to install the new bump outs and curbs and sidewalks. But their ballot line and the ballot foundations run into interference with utilities, so therefore they need to move the utilities. So we're working on coordinating that to get it done once instead of coming in, doing our work, finishing up, and then they come in and do ballot work, and I have to dig out and do more utility work.
No, and at no point was there a discussion about digging everything out to condense and do everything at once.
We don't know for sure if they would have to do all of that. But when we just looked into it, we raised the question to their designer to see what kind of foundation the bollards need, and if there's an interference with utilities, if they would have to look into that. So we just met last week, so there's a few things to work out. But basically, if we have all of the street open, I think they would want us to do part of that, because it wouldn't be that much more work for us, because it's, we have what, 40 feet of the street open or more.
I'm
But we'll
just
see what they
saying,
say.
I miss LMCCC, because that kind of coordination to ensure that the public is not, that you're not digging up the street, you close the street, and then they're opening the street again, and the sidewalks.
Yeah, that's totally what that's what we're trying to avoid. Like, we would like to do all of our work, and then when it's time for them to put the bollards in, they could essentially just drop bollard after bollard after bollard,
Correct.
and just restore a very small section of the sidewalk. So that's, I think we have a good plan to get there. There won't be any redo or anything, but we just have to, we just need some details.
Yeah, as soon as you find out, since you just had your first meeting with them and you won't be back with us, actually, you won't be back with us until September, because we don't meet in August. So as soon as you find out whether you can work together and get a lot of that work done at one time, would you please contact us and let us know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. And then the other question is how long, and I always ask, and I always tell you that I understand that this is subject to change, but how long do you think, if you had to close Greenwich Street, how long would it be, that one block, how long would it be closed?
We're putting that together, more of the engineers. So when they get a number for DOT, I could email you and let you know, Pat. I just don't want to say, I don't have the best estimate.
I never hold you guys to it. I know that, when you open things up or you start, you run into issues. And so you'll let us know when you know. We would appreciate to know that. Tammy, did you have any other questions? No? Okay. Brandon, did you put your hand down? No, you didn't want to? No? Did we ask it already? Anybody else on the committee have any questions for Philip? All right, Philip, that's it for that.
Yeah, that's all I got. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll see you in September.
We do
Enjoy
have a
the
question
summer.
in the attendees.
Sorry. Let them ask it.
Christopher?
Yeah, no problem. Hi, how are you? Philip, yeah, thanks for the update, of course. It's always a mystery for me what goes on in that Greenwich Street intersection there. I just have a couple questions. They're kind of general and probably annoying, but it's been a long road with that particular project for the particular depth that you guys have dug to. I mean, this isn't like, deep sewer work, right? This is pretty superficial in the scheme of Manhattan. So I'm just curious, does your contracts that you guys draw up, they stipulate penalties for days of open streets with no work performed?
So that's a very good question, right? Because it's not deep sewer work. It's not kind of a 40-foot sewer in the ground that you'd see in the outer borough. But I think the majority of work in Lower Manhattan is from curb to curb. The street is loaded with utilities. So we have Con Ed. A lot of times, if you see something that's open, people are in and out. You might not see them when they're doing it. They have specialty crews coming out, and Con Ed, just a couple weeks ago, gave us an entirely new electrical layout for their primary cables from Murray to Barclay. So to backfill that and reopen it would be a job on its own, because there's there might be 10 different things going on there at once, and it happens one by one. But it does stay open a long time. From
Yeah,
our
no,
point of view,
yeah, no, I totally hear that. I worry about the scope of these projects as time goes on because I feel like at this era, 2023, I feel that I've seen projects that move a ton faster. Like I didn't see any vacuum excavation here. I didn't see any situation where you guys were opening the street, documenting it for all the participants, closing it, and then when everyone had their act together, they actually started work. It's just the whole process is getting frustrating when you say, oh, we're moving this out, we can't work during the summer. All these things start becoming like, questions, regular questions, like what's going on? I mean, these are not cheap projects. What does the contract stipulate like minimum technical techniques required?
No,
no, absolutely. And
there's
go
no
ahead, Frankie.
there are no provisions in the contract. Again, my contractor is actively working. And if you've noticed, they've opened up a few locations. So when they do run into issues, they're not there are contractors out there that would sit and wait until a decision is made or an answer is given. Not this contractor. You've guys gotten a good contractor. He's actually very proactive and keeping busy. So you might see him if we run into an issue, for example, on Barkley. You might see his crew jump onto Murray to do something else, and then he'll move mid-block, just to keep going. So he's never idle sitting around, right?
Okay,
There's
so the
always
core of the
active
issue is really
construction going on.
scheduling with Empire City, scheduling with Con Ed, and scheduling with amongst yourselves with the water, right? I mean, I'm just trying to understand how a project of this size and scope becomes, what is it going to be, 3 years in total running time? Well, what is the total?
You look at the ground, right? Our
Yeah.
contract for calls for the existing water main, the 20-inch water main is under the sidewalk. We're literally moving that water main from under that sidewalk, where it's already, encased in all utilities, and we have to find a clear lane, which we do not have, and because the roadway is loaded with utilities, we have to move everything out of the way in order to put the 20-inch water main in. So, it's not a easy process for us to find a clear lane for the 20-inch water main. You're not talking about a small water main. So in order for us to find that clear lane, we're moving steam, we're moving electric, we're moving gas, we're moving telephone, just in order for us to accommodate and find a clear lane so we could put these new infrastructures in. So
Yeah, but I mean,
that's where the
yeah,
issue is.
right. So I
Right.
guess my original question was, is there not a precedent, at least from your experience, Philip, in this situations, and Frankie, not to dismiss what you said, it's important, but is not a precedent then to maybe stage these projects? So open the street, document the street, close the street, then everyone goes and figures out a schedule later on. Because it seems to me we open the street and then we start working the problem. And that's, of course, that's life. We work problems. But in this era, I feel like working the problem with such density down here, it's just counterproductive to everything, to traffic, to noise, to
Because now you're
safety.
talking about infrastructure work, which unfortunately there's all unforeseen, right? We all don't have X-ray vision, so we don't see what we have on the ground, right? Until we put a shovel in the ground. A lot of
Totally
times,
understand that. Yeah, that's why I'm just saying, is it that
the
makes
utilities have their markouts and their plates, and a lot of times, their facilities are marked out, but there are also a lot of times that there are unmarked and facilities that's not even on their plates. So we're coming in when we're expecting, a set of conduits. We have 5 sets of conduits, right? So now we
Yeah,
have
no, Frankie, just to, I mean, that part I totally get. And that's why I'm proposing, why is it not a precedent for the city, but for DDC, to propose that these sort of projects that don't have current documentation or untrustworthy documentation, to have you guys open the street, under street is documented, backfill, close the street, and then a year later, when everyone is scheduled, open it and get it done in 6 months?
I mean, I think it's a great question. The short answer, if you look at the picture on the right, we opened all of that area and we had to replace things in progression, really, right? There's a new gas main there. We're putting in a new water main. They had to do electrical work, primaries and feeders. So things were happening one after the other in that area. And like Frankie said, I mean, we have a really great contractor. And since we've been here, they've maybe not worked 2 or 3 days. And that was probably because of the 5K in the area. So you open something up, we have to wait for the utilities sometimes. There's a lot of pre-engineering that goes into this, but there's always surprises. And even if you see a big hole in the ground, there's people doing something at least every week, especially specialty crews. Just that picture on the right, I mean, so many things have been replaced. And you're talking about taking primary electrical cables from under the ground, keeping them live, hanging them in the air so we can work underneath them. And that's kind of what we're looking at now. I think it's a great question, though.
Okay,
And also, this
that's on
is
Con Ed, right?
Marlene Nunez from DDC Outreach. Philip, the CCO at Greenwich Street, he does a great job providing weekly bulletins that display the upcoming work at these locations. And there's also a quarterly newsletter that describes ongoing work, remaining work, and completed work with detailed pictures and details about the project. So if you'd like to be added to that, please let us know if you're not already.
Go ahead and send us those links for how they can be added, and we'll share that out in the.
Sure.
Yeah, and just a last question here is the hardest part here dealing with Empire City and Con Ed, or what's the Philip? What's the big struggle? I know I mean Frankie's obviously on the call with us, but the other representatives are not. So, it's not nice to point
I
fingers.
think
What is the complexity wise that we struggle with?
anywhere in Lower Manhattan, I mean, it's a very crowded area, and like I said, it's curb to curb with utilities. There's a substation, I'm assuming, powering most of Lower Manhattan, and World Trade Center 7 right there. So there's primary electricity cables. Like how we're doing all of this work and trying to minimize disruptions and keeping the steam, the electricity, the internet, all of these things going at once. So the hardest thing is everything is in the way.
And then also that after 9/11, when they were reconstructing the whole campus area, the drive was to get things back up and running ASAP. So a lot of stuff was dumped in, shallow or unmarked, which is now when we're coming back and reconstructing this road now, we're running into these and we're trying to resolve these and move them out of the way in order for us to put new infrastructure in. And that's another problem that we've encountered.
I'm going to interrupt because we've got to move on. Christopher, thank you. If
I'll let it go.
if it's pursuing, you might take it up with one of our elected officials about this. That's all I can suggest at the moment. We've got to move on though. So I'm sorry. Next question? Anyone who's on the committee? I think I saw Justine. Justine, did you have your hand up?
No, not on purpose. Sorry. Thank you.
Am I missing Onej, Tammy? Do you see any other hands?
No.
Okay, so.
No other hands, and I shared the contact for the CCL in the chat for everyone.
Great. Thank you. Philip, you didn't have anything else, right, to add to that?
No, that's all for me. Thanks.
Thanks. So we'll see you again, like I said, in September. We're going to move on to the next project. Who is next?
Hi, this is Howie Dang. I'm the RE for the Front Street Reconstruction Project.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing fine.
For our scope of work. I'm
Which
sorry?
project are we doing?
Front Street.
Oh, Front Street, right, okay.
For our scope of work, we have 6 blocks of full roadway reconstruction, curb and sidewalk, 88 pedestrian ramps, catch basins and chutes, replacement of hydrants, streetlights and traffic signals, including APS. Also, this is a joint bid project, so we also have Con Ed capital work, and also ECS and Charter Spectrum private work, also replacement of street signs and tree removal and pruning. As of now, our project completion date is June 30th of 2024, and our percentage of completion is 41.25%. Next slide, please, Special. So far, our work completed to date, we installed 9,600 feet of Con Ed electric conduits. We've rebuilt 6 Con Ed manholes. We've also done abatement of steam mains and reinstallation of housings and 2 relocations. We've located a steam anchor in interference with catch basin that was on old slip. So far, we've done installation of 13 new catch basins with 2 new manholes and the chute connections. Also, we've completed installation of 2 new sewer manholes and replacement of sewer due to damage by Con Ed steam main. We've also done 12-inch water main at the intersection of Gouverneur and Front Street. Also, we completed 6 blocks of trolley removal excavation. We did not find anything significant. No old trolleys.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, curious.
Yes. Also, we've relocated Con Ed gas facilities in the intersection of Front Street and John Street. And this is Maiden Lane. This is one of the pre-existing conditions that we discovered, where a water main was installation had damaged sewer, brick sewer. This is one of the change orders we had. We will be working on this pretty soon. And next slide, please, Measure. So our current operation is catch basins between Fletcher Street and John Street. So for work remaining, we still need to do a full roadway reconstruction for all 6 blocks, and which includes Cobblestone Street between Fletcher Street and John Street. Repair sewer and install new manholes at Maiden Lane, which I just mentioned. Also, 13 more catch basins to go. Also, curb and sidewalk for the whole 6 blocks, and as well as the street lighting and traffic signal. That's it for me. Any questions?
So we always talk about the cobblestone. So you've heard us
So-
before, you know.
So Pat,
we do the
so our plan for the cobblestone and for this project would be we're gonna fast track the schedule on that first block, going south from John to Fletcher, right? So right now we're doing basins. Once we're done with that, we're gonna do the curbs and sidewalks on the east side. And we should be starting road base and cobblestone on that block by, I would say, Howie, September. Does that sound correct?
Maybe August.
Yeah, around August, September. So we're looking to finish that block, and then complete that block and move out and move on south. So you should have a new cobblestone roadway by early fall. Fully cured.
Sorry, am I remembering this correctly, that it was going to be your crew that's doing the cobblestones, and so you've learned from all of the cobblestone issues we've had?
We're taking great pride in our work, and we've had cobblestone works in the city, in Brooklyn, and in the city as well. Since that Greenwich Street project, and our contractor gonna put on a great crew, a roadway restoration crew that knows cobblestone, and they're gonna turn out a good product for you.
Sounds good, because we're always concerned about those cobblestones. So great, thank you.
No problem. Oh, by the way, Pat, Lou Sanchez sends his regards. I spoke to him today. He told me to tell you. He said
Say hi. We miss him.
You can tell him we miss him huge.
I will tell him to maybe join us one day.
Yeah, we would love to see him. That would be
The
great.
chair demands a return performance.
We'll do. I'll let him know tomorrow.
Please, thank you. Diane, you have your hand up.
Yes, not about the cobblestones. I don't know, maybe I missed something. When I saw the water main pipes, do you also replace the pipes?
No, this contract has no water main work. The only section of water main, the from the slides, we're replacing we found the damaged sewer. We actually found a broken sewer when we were doing our work, and we're gonna come in and we're gonna replace that whole damaged section. So there's no water main upgrades on this project.
Oh, I'm just concerned. I mean, are the pipes that are in there, are they, how do I put it?
They're in good shape.
Are they since they're carrying our drinking water, are they?
They're ductile. They don't have, which is not lead joints. You're good. If we did encounter any lead, we would replace the pipe accordingly, but we haven't. The pipe is it's not an old water main. I think this was done early to 20,000 ish, early 20s, so, or late 1990s. So you don't have an old water main.
Frankie, I believe Front Street was done somewhere between the 80s and 2000.
Okay.
Water.
So you still it's not an old pipe. You're not talking about 1800s here.
Yeah.
So,
Great. Thank you. Diane, you okay? That's it? Anybody else from the committee? Anyone from the community have a question? Not, we're moving to the next project. Gotta move a little faster. Okay, next. Who's next? And which project?
So this is the reconstruction of Vesey Street. It's between Church and Broadway. Projected completion date, we have it on September 17, 2024. Percent of work completed is 24.5%.
Oh, it's Vesey Street. I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yes.
And so the completion date is when?
September 17, 2024.
Thank you.
So as we mentioned before, our scope of work is installation of catch basin, sewer cleanup manhole, water main upgrade. We are upgrading the water main from 12-inch to 20-inch water main. We also working on private utilities upgrades. This is a joint bid project, so Con Edison and Empire City Subway, they have their money in, they have their funding to do their own work. We also, after we finish installing the water main, we will be upgrading the street lights. We'll be installing a 6-inch granite curb and pigmented sidewalk installation. We will upgrade the pedestrian ramp, so it's an ADA compliant ramp. So the contractor finished milling and paving the intersection of Church and Vesey Street. The utility companies requested us to locate and chase some of their conduits in order to do the upgrades. So we had this intersection milled and paved before the 5-borough bike tour. On this slide, we can see the removal of the existing 12-inch water main. And here we can see the installation of 20-inch mechanical joint gate valve. It's on Vesey Street and Church Street. And here you can see the installation of 20-inch water main. We started on the west side of Vesey Street. And during our work, and I know Chris, he mentioned that we should always open the road and then document everything and come back with a plan. And that's what we did on Vesey Street. However, we met with Con Edison, I would say 6 months before the start date of the project. And they came up with the layouts and some designs. And however, when we started working on these layouts, Con Edison discovered that they have some structural defects in their manholes. So even after documenting everything in the street, we always see unforeseen circumstances that delays the project. But as of now, we're still on the original completion date of the project.
Good.
And that's it for Vesey Street.
How's the traffic situation been?
I mean, it's been great. We had a couple of lane closures during the weekends. However, we have the contractor has the flaggers, and we only do the full road closures only when it's needed, and we give the community a heads up. We work with the garage. There's one garage on 18 Vesey Street, and we coordinate everything with them. If we have one lane closure, the contractor will have 2 to 3 flaggers to detour the traffic so the garage doesn't lose business.
And how are the businesses doing? Because there's a boxing gym and the stage not stage deli, whatever deli that is, and they're
Stage
okay.
diner. Stage diner, yes.
Yeah,
We've been talking with the owners. Laura, she's on vacation right now. She's been engaging with the community, reaching out every single week, and we had a couple of meetings with the garage owners because the work is approaching their driveway. So we want to have a plan so we minimize the impact on them.
Okay, so as long as you're in communication, that's good. We always appreciate that. Questions? Anyone? I don't see any hands, so I assume not. Any questions from the community, Tammy or Anesh?
No hands are up, so let's keep going.
Thank you, Bashir.
You're welcome. Moving forward to the next project, we have Nassau Street. We have Norbert, the RE, with us today.
Hey,
Hello, good
Norbert, how are
hello,
you?
good evening, everybody. So last time you spoke, I was pretty confident that we're gonna be up and running by now, but unfortunately, we still haven't started officially. But we're right around the corner. We were actually slated to start last week, but there's still a little bit of a hiccup with the DOT permits. The contractor's trying to secure all the side blocks that were not in the original stipulations, but they basically squared it away, and we're ready to start very soon.
Okay, you'll let us know by September. You'll let us know, and also, we have a community member who lives right there on the corner. I think you've already reached out to her and spoken to her.
Yes, and I know a concern last time because we were just to go over the scope of work again for people that weren't a part of it. We have the 3 blocks, full roadway reconstruction. We're installing new granite curbs and sidewalks with new ADA ramps, installing new catch basins, a wayfinding sign, and upgrading the streetlights to the downtown Alliance standards. And then, of course, installation of new 9-inch concrete road base with new asphalt. And like all the other projects in the area, there's a large amount of Con Ed and ECS private work. Next slide. So last time I did mention that we were supposed to have the shutdown of the full street and 24/7, but DOT, we actually are gonna have the lane open after hours. So the street's only gonna be closed during work hours, and we'll reopen it after the contractor's done for the day. So there will be a travel lane open at all times. I know that was a concern that was brought up last time, so that should help traffic at night.
During work hours, which will be between when and when?
7 and 4 o'clock. So between Pine and Cedar, Nassau will be closed during work hours, and then they'll move block by block and only have one street shut down at a time during work hours. After hours, it will be open up to traffic, one lane of traffic.
All right. And do you think you'll start the project before September?
Yes, I'm confident. Yes.
All right. So we won't meet with you again until September, but would you just shoot us a note if you actually get started?
Yes. Tashnima, she's out today, but she's going to send out all the notifications, our community liaison for when we start to all the stakeholders. She'll send it out.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm just going to see any questions, any quick questions about, no, Nassau Street? Don't see any hands.
Seeing
All right.
no hands, let's roll.
Is that complete? Are we done with our project?
There's
Is
one more,
something
Pat.
that is-
There's an upcoming project.
Well, hi, Marilyn. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm hanging in there. So what do we got going?
Hi, I think Deshaun is on. He wanted to talk a little bit about an upcoming project to the CB1 area as well.
Okay.
Deshaun, are you there?
I don't see a Sean unless he's already moved over.
Deshaun.
Okay.
Deshaun, okay. Okay, so I'll just.
Nitish will start working.
Oh,
Will
Nitish.
explain regarding the project. Nitish.
Okay.
Hello. Okay. My name is Nitish
Hey,
Chandler.
Nikki, how are you?
Good. I'm EIC from DDC, and the upcoming project is PS312 MX repair and rehabilitations of the interceptor sewers on the South Street. And expected start date is anticipated in August 2023. And the location is on South Street between the Fulton Street and Dover Street. And the duration of the project will be 545 CCDs. And work will be done most of the time at the night work from Monday to Saturday morning, 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. And the work will be like installation of the PVC spiral bound lining profile, utilizing the grouted steel reinforced PVC. This is the first time we are installing lining in the New York City, and the sewer size is like 96 inches wide and 72 inches high. So we are expecting the work to work only in the sewer, and there will be very little excavation to install the bypass from one sewer manhole to another sewer. It will be like 12 inches pump will be running to discharge the sewer from the existing 8 foot by 6 foot sewer into the nearby another sewer. So this work will be performed by the Coppola Services, is a contractor, and we are in the process of hiring the REI consultant right now.
I have two questions. First of all, South Street between Fulton and Dover, are there residents there?
On one side, there are resident buildings, and the other side is those restaurants and other stuff, and parks properties.
How are you getting permission to work from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. if there are people living there?
The work is most probably done inside the sewer. There is no excavation and other stuff. So DOT, NYC DOT has given the OCMC and the contract to work from during the night, so that there will be less on the traffic.
Okay, I'm sorry. Is there jackhammering to open it up? Are there people with, backup beepers? Are there people yelling to one another? I still don't understand, if they're residents, how you can work from 9 at night to 6 a.m. when people are trying to sleep.
This is a lining work, so we are rehabilitated of the interceptor inside the sewer. So the work is all the time will be inside the sewer. So
Okay,
they
but
will not excavate anything on the roadway.
Let me add into that, Peg, this is during the design. This is like 30 feet deep sewer, and the flow also at the night time will be less. So based on all circumstances during the design phase, DOT established these traffic stipulations to have the work done at night.
Okay, Deshaun, I get what you're saying, but I'm not understanding how if there are residents that you can work at night and not disturb them.
Pat, there'll also be a liaison on this project to inform residents of the upcoming work and survey the area for buildings and get in touch with project property managers as well. So just wanted to let you know that that will also be on this project with CCL. I do know that there are concerns over the hours, but as Deshaun explained, these are the hours that are provided by CTOT at the moment.
I think we're gonna have a discussion about it. Tammy, did you want to say something?
I'd like to, Marilyn, I'd like to take this, working in, first of all, if you take a look at the map of all the projects that you've presented tonight, there's a ton of work going on, and you don't even have any of the current construction projects that are happening along those areas and around, which is going to make it highly difficult for people to navigate the location. I hear what Pat's saying, even though Deshaun's saying that all the work will be done below ground and underground in the sewers. We really do need to have more than just a CCL to call, but really a discussion of what is loud noise producing, what is not. It's overnight. What kind of access and street closures and routes? We have not seen a transportation plan on this. If it's closing streets, you know,
I mean, most
sorry.
of the time, the projects are great and they're fine and and it works out. But this one that you're starting it in August, and I still don't understand how they're going to access the sewer, even if they're underground. How are they going to get underground? I'm not understanding it. So we don't need to discuss it tonight. Can we have an offline discussion about this?
Sure, we can talk offline and get more information about this project to you.
If we can have a Zoom meeting with
Sure.
a few, and
Sure, I'll get
actually
in
get
touch with you tomorrow and we'll discuss.
Okay, so if you contact the office and set up, we can set up some time to talk, because I'm just not understanding it. I'm not seeing it clearly how it's not going to interfere with quality of life of the residents that live along this route. All right.
Okay.
Instead of us, because it's getting late, so instead of us talking about it tonight, let's call the office tomorrow and let's set up some time. And I always appreciate all of you and all of the work and effort that you make to accommodate all of us.
Sure.
Are there any?
Okay.
Is that? Oh, we got
There's
Trinity
one
Place?
more slide, which is the other upcoming project, the reconstruction of Trinity Place. This is further along the year, 2023.
And that one I told you last time, that impacts me directly. So.
Well, and that's that one. My greatest question before we even get rolling is what connections and conversations have you had, not only with the residents on the corridor, but with the 3 existing construction projects on that street and the school at the end?
I've met with CS 150, with the principal there, with Solution as well. We discussed this upcoming project, and we have been in touch with Trinity Church. We've met with them a few times during the design phase.
All right. So when is this? Do you know when it's due to start?
Most likely it'll be fall of 2023.
Okay, so we have
And
some
here you
time.
see a scope of work as to what's included on the project.
And what protections have you put in for the school and for the kids and the families that need? They're in a pretty precarious, dangerous traffic consideration right now. Based on what kind of implementation are you doing down on the very bottom?
So those are questions that we can get back to you guys on. We'll meet with our design team and the construction team here. For this project in particular, hasn't started yet, but we do realize your concerns and we'll get back to you with answers.
And I think I said last time, you have the American Stock Exchange, the old American Stock Exchange building where they're doing construction and there's scaffolding up and there's already double parked traffic and it's already kind of a mess. So we need to have some more. So you don't think this will start before September, do you?
No, I don't think it'll start before September.
So we have time in September to continue the conversation, and maybe this could be part of our offline conversation also.
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Marilyn. Is there any other project?
No, that's it.
No.
Thank you.
We'll say thank you to you. We'll talk to you tomorrow, and I appreciate all of you. Thank you for spending some time with us this evening to fill us in. Those that we're not going to be in the conversation, have a great summer, and we'll see you in September.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. We didn't hear from Scott. Scott, are you there? And did you have something you wanted to add?
Yes, good evening. How are you, Pat?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So I'm the CCL
Good.
Water Street project in Manhattan. Currently, we have 4 locations. The first location, Water Street between Wall and Pine. We're continuing with the welding and reconstruction of the existing gas main. We're almost finished with 3 of the gas services to the buildings at that location, the Indigo Hotel, the Holiday Inn, and also 130 Water Street, which is a condo. The 3 other locations, the intersection of Water and Whitehall, Water between Broad Street and Quintus Slip, and the 3rd, Water between Quintus Slip and Hanover. We're working on the installation of Con Edison's electrical facilities, basically excavation, and that's it. That's all I have.
All right, that was quick.
Yeah.
Any question? Oh, Tammy, your hand is still up. Did you have a question?
I'm just going to make the assumption that they're all doing resiliency work as they're taking everything out and putting everything back and making sure that they won't be damaged from floods until we have resiliency protection along the coastline. I'll make that assumption. Scott can tell me if I'm wrong.
Yes, they are.
Great.
And as
All
far as
right,
the
any-
anticipated end date, now we're looking at June of 2025.
2025. Okay, great. Any questions from anyone else? Okay, Scott, thank you as always.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
your summer.
Yeah,
We'll see
summer
you in
just
September.
started today, so I'm looking forward to it.
Have fun. And the old song is "See You in September."
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thank you. So now the last project should be our borough-based jail. Laura, are you here?
I am here. Hi, Pat. Hi, Tammy.
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Great. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Let me pull up the presentation. And I believe, just as I get started, I believe all of the BBJ team members who are going to be either presenting or planning to potentially answer questions have been moved over into the presenter channel. If I forgot anyone or if you haven't, please just raise your hand and CD1 can move you over. Presentation. That's showing up full screen for everybody?
I see it.
Okay, great. Okay, so our agenda, similar to our presentation in recent months, we will go over updates on what we've heard and questions we've been asked recently. We will talk about dismantle project updates, in particular upcoming milestones for the dismantle project. As always, we'll recap with community engagement and resources that are available to folks if you have questions even in between these meetings, and then we'll open it up for questions. So what we've been hearing recently, we have a standing item on here for requests for updates on FOIL requests. So I believe at this time there are 2 FOIL requests that particular for DDC that are outstanding. One regarding the South Tower demo that is still under review. The other one was for the lead remediation record. I think that's going to be ready to share soon. Just confirming with the legal team. And so once I have an ETA for that, I will share it with the community board. And then I know, so I don't, I'm not sure if Alice is on, but I know, you know, recently we were talking and I know she's been following up regarding correspondence with LPC, and that FOIL request is currently with LPC. I think there has been at least a partial response from that. I'm still following up to confirm that. And then there was an additional request that came up yesterday specifically regarding SHPO. So we have confirmed that this project, because it's not funded by federal or state funding, it's not actually subject to SHPO review. So that's not something that's part of this project.
I guess I can take this offline, Lauren, but my understanding is that there is a requirement for state review of this project because in fact it did trigger through the asbestos a state related permit. And so I guess we do need to get clarity on that.
Okay.
And either, so.
Sure, yeah, we can continue to follow up. I have confirmation from someone at SHPO that said we're not subject to that, but if there's outstanding questions, Alice, like we can keep the dialogue going.
Curious because we got an apology, I thought someone got an apology from SHPO saying that they had not yet reviewed the project or something. So it's a bit confusing.
Okay.
And it is a critical point and we'd very much like the follow-up that gives clarity on that. So thanks very much.
Okay, sure. And then following that, you know, a request for update on future dismantle milestones. So looking a little bit further out than we have been in recent presentations. So that's been updated on slide 5. We also standing request for environmental monitoring updates, which will be providing, going through environmental monitoring generally, what the plan is, and updates on that on slides 10 through 15. And then specifically, I just want to note, we did get a question about air quality readings during the recent Canada fire smoke events that, you know, we're all very well aware of in early June. So we can provide some information on that. The June reports are not yet ready, but we're happy to share the data that we've been able to collect for those days. And then again, Alice, most recently, I know a question came in about the needle beam installation and, you know, what exactly that is, and some details in the gym backfill. So after I hand it over to Rich, he's going through some of the slides 6 through 8. He can kind of touch on this and explain that in more detail. And then if we're not answering your question in the presentation, we're happy to, you know, keep it going in the Q&A.
Thanks, Lauren.
Okay, so Rich, I will turn it over to you to go through the dismantle project updates first.
Good evening, everybody. How are you?
Yes.
How
are you?
Right, good. Trying to get my screen to pop up here. So the interim Sally Port on Center Street is wrapping up this summer. We are getting ready to switch the phasing of the street sidewalk fencing from phase 1 to phase 2, which I'll go over in a future slide. You're going to start seeing cranes start arriving to the site in anticipation of the North Tower dismantlement. The screen and cover on the scaffolding will be installed late summer. On the South Tower, you're going to start seeing sidewalk shed and scaffolding being erected towards the middle of the summer. And the South Tower screen cover and the dismantlement will begin in this fall. We are targeting a substantial completion of fall 24. As you can see, this is the layout that anyone in the neighborhood should be familiar with at this point. Baxter Street has the sidewalk and parking lane closed from the North Tower to the South Tower along Baxter. There's a sidewalk shed at the north end of Baxter in front of the entrance to the Chung Pack facility. You have the new crosswalk that was installed at Bayard crossing over into Baxter. On the opposite side on Center Street, you have sidewalk shed that is installed the length of the North Tower through White Street. And then progressing south, you have the new Sally Port that's been erected, shown in lime green. Now this phasing, as the Sally Port nears completion, will be changed into phase 2, which I'll show on the next slide. Here you can see the fence on Baxter continues through Bayard, encapsulating the existing Sally Port. And the fence on the Center Street side continues along the South Tower with a larger shed where the buses will be able to pull in and back into the new Sally Port. As you can see on the North Tower, sections of the building have been changed to a light gray that indicates the sections of the building that have been dismantled, which includes the gymnasium on Baxter, the bridge on White Street, and the front patio covered area there on White Street and Center. Here you can see some progress photos. We'll start left to right. On the left, you can see the progress of the interim Sally Port on Center Street. On the center, you can see some needle beam installation in preparation for scaffolding. And on the right, you can see the scaffolding that is installed on the Center Street side. I know I was asked to explain needle beams. As you can see in the center photo there, needle beams are steel beams that penetrate through the facade of the structure that allow the scaffolding to have a platform to rest on in order to build it up on the exterior of the building. And that's what you can see in that photo there. Continuing around the property, you can see the magenta squares. That's the location of our bait control for rodents in the area. We monitor them monthly, and I always ask if anyone sees anything, please reach out to our CCL so that we can have it handled immediately.
Actually, Rich, you know what? I'm going to go back a couple slides. If you wouldn't mind, we can do it on this one where you were talking about the gym and the part that's already been dismantled. Could you describe a little bit more about the backfill operations? I think this is where we could talk about that one question that Alice had sent in.
Yes, absolutely. So backfill is being brought into the site for purposes of stabilizing the perimeter walls, as well as giving us a pad to stand on for the crane that is coming to that gymnasium area at the current time. The material is being sourced as clean fill, and is being brought in and placed in compacted lifts in that area there in order to support the crane, and then later utilized throughout the property as berming for any vertical walls that remain.
Thanks.
Sorry, did you already, you just did this one, right?
I did the road and control. And we're at the environmental monitoring plan. For those that aren't familiar, on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see the blue squares are where vibration monitors are installed. Vibration monitoring for the Sallyport. The pink squares are the vibration monitors for the dismantlement project. And the triangles and green circles are the air and noise monitoring stations and where they're located. For those that aren't familiar, if a alarm is triggered, it's set below the threshold so that we are able to address the issue before it becomes an issue, and keep on top of our programs on the site. Dust mitigation, here's an example of the water sprayer that we use for dust mitigation on the site. Things that we have been doing, we try to keep the site fully enclosed, mitigating any propagation of dust and noise to the adjacent areas. We use water spray for our roadways, our trucks, and our wheel washes, any excavation stockpiles, and any areas of dust generation. We try to cover our stockpiles and anchor them with tarps to the greatest extent feasible based on load-out operations and timing. We use extra care, especially in areas of dry periods where we need more frequent watering, and we try to cover and all truckloads are covered and secured before they leave the site. Noise mitigation, we have mufflers obviously on all of our equipment, our trucks, our generators, our excavators. We installed sound barriers and sound absorbing materials around the perimeter of our work areas. You can see here on the roof when the gymnasium was dismantled. Truck idling is minimized and eliminated when they're staged on site. And we try to take all of our debris and use the excavators to lower it as far into the box as possible in lieu of dropping it into the box to minimize the sound of the concrete hitting the metal when it's loaded into the containers. I'll hand it back to Lauren for communications to everybody.
So in addition to doing the environmental monitoring, which we're monitoring in real time, as Rich has said, we are also committed to publishing monthly monitoring reports on our website. And that's in response to a community board resolution from last year. So we're happy to keep coming here bi-monthly and providing the environmental monitoring updates here. We'll also continue to provide those at the NAC meetings and publish these reports online. And then this is a little bit more of a detailed snapshot of what these reports contain than I think we've shown previously in these meetings. So on the right-hand side, what you're seeing here, we provide, after we pull all the data from the past month, our team, like Gramercy, actually goes through it and we provide a narrative summary. So we note if there were any exceedances throughout the month. So you're seeing here for this example, there weren't any for air quality monitoring. And then if there were, providing an explanation for that. Luckily, I should say, to date, there have been no construction related exceedances. Occasionally there's something where I think we had an incident where like NYPD was coming by and actually bumping into one of the vibration monitors. So of course it's noting something, but that's not actually vibrations caused by construction. It's just someone jiggling the machine. So that's why, Gramercy kind of comes back, reviews the data, and then provides a narrative in these reports to clarify if we are seeing anything, what is it? And if it's not construction related and it's not a concern, why not? And if there, was anything going up towards any of the action levels, how did they come out on site, address it, mitigate it before it became an issue? So it takes us some time to put those together, but we publish them. And then we also include, it's not just the narrative description and the summary in these reports, and these are just a couple of snapshots. We actually do provide the data readouts for the entire month and, a graphic chart here. So what you're seeing in this example, for instance, we showed dotted line on the bottom is kind of the baseline reading. That's, if we weren't there on the site, it's just a normal day. We've taken the readings over time and kind of average those out. This is your typical daily normal condition. And then the blue line that you're seeing kind of popping up here, these are the monitoring readings that are occurring. We're actually doing the monitoring, all the time, whether work is occurring or not, but we're recording all of those. And then these two other dashed lines that are appearing above it. So we set first this review threshold, which is set well below the permissible exposure limit that's set by the regulations. That exposure limit is the upper level here. So as Rich was saying, if this is the upper limit, that's we don't want to exceed that per state and federal regulations, the lower limit here is one that we've set internally for our team, well below, the real threshold, so that if we're approaching that or crossing that, Rich and his team get alerts immediately, and they're notified, hey, you guys levels are getting elevated. You better go out, see what's going on site, see if it's something that we need to do to address and mitigate it before we cross that. So this system that we have in place is why, we'll switch to actually share out the results from the last few months in the next slide. But I wanted to continue here. So in addition to the monitoring reports and sharing this data during these meetings, we know that Chung Pak is of particular concern given its proximity to the construction site and the residents who are living there. So the team does meet weekly with Chung Pak. We have different representatives from their management team, depending on who's available. We try to iron out if there's any on-the-ground issues that Gramercy or our team can address immediately. We've also had meetings as needed with the commercial tenants, including the Community Health Center and the Chung Pak Daycare Center. Our multilingual CCL, Nikita, who all of you know, and she'll say hi towards the end of this meeting as well. She's also on site in case there's any translation needs, and she's continues to be available to meet with residents during the week. And so even though so far our noise and air monitoring results have not shown or show that levels have not exceeded acceptable limits as established by DEP, New York State Department of Health, New York State DEC, any of those regulations, the BBJ team did install additional noise blankets, which you're seeing in the top photo here, for the Chung Pak residents who were in close proximity to activities when they were dismantling the gym. And then also, we did advise residents, I think the best thing you could do would be to shut your windows if the noise or there's, dust kind of coming through, but we totally understand people really value fresh air and sometimes just need that ventilation and the airflow. So for some of those residents, for whom closing windows wasn't a feasible option, Gramercy voluntarily provided some HEPA filters to go in those windows so that the Chung Pak residents could use those instead. So this is just to say there is ongoing frequent engagement. We're trying to stay in touch on the grounds to mitigate where we can any of these issues that arise. Of course, it's an active construction site, so there will be noise. There's going to be impacts, but we're doing what we can to try to address this stuff at the really hyper local level. And here, this is providing that high level summary. So for March, April, and May, so far we're right at the end of June, so we'll be compiling the June report shortly. But for March, April, and May, the good news is we have not seen any exceedances for air quality, noise, or vibration monitoring that were caused by construction. And then again, we will be compiling the full June report and issuing that as soon as we can. We're still in the month of June, so there's still monitoring going on. But I know there were some questions around, were we monitoring on those days where New York City was seeing all of that additional haze and air quality issues from the smoke that was coming down from Canada? Yes, we were. Our monitors were online and working. We know they're working properly because they did show elevated levels and exceedances on those days that were really, really bad. It's not something that we can compare apples to apples with the readouts that were coming from the city. It's slightly different monitoring systems, and we're specifically monitoring this local construction activity and the dust that's coming from construction. But basically what we're seeing is when New York City was saying air quality levels were going up, that's what our monitors were showing as well. So we do know that those are working, but those exceedances were due to the smoke coming down from Canada. We weren't doing any sort of different or extraordinary or dust causing construction activities at the time, so it was not due to work activities on the site. Rich, I'll hand it back to you. I know we've gone through this slide a number of times in these meetings, but if you just want to summarize the asbestos air monitoring.
Yes. Asbestos air monitoring has been, we haven't been doing any asbestos in the past month. So as of now, there's no new information to report, but we do monitor all of our work areas with air monitors. This way we are aware if negative pressure is dropped or released, and then if there are any fibers were released from the work area. So we had none on this project, and we're not doing any abatement at this current time.
And finally, we showed this slide a number of times in the past. I think we had stopped recently, but thought it was wise to revisit it, especially in light of some of the events citywide that happened in June. So again, if there is a critical emergency on the site or an emergency that's, as we saw earlier this month, something that's not even related to construction, the New York City does have emergency response protocols in place. So for any, if it's a confirmed construction incident or something unrelated to the construction, NYCEM, that's New York City Emergency Management, they're the agency that really takes the lead on handling this. So they'd be notified by us if it's something on our site. They would then in turn notify DOB or any other agency that needs to be involved with investigating and then handling that that incident. If it's something that would affect or could potentially affect the surrounding community, NYCEM, again, they'd be notified and they would take the lead in notifying agencies according to their protocols that have been developed. They would also be the agency providing details out to the community if there is something that like the community needs to take action. I hate to think of an incident where evacuation is needed or something, but in those cases, NYCEM has emergency protocols in place to notify residents. They would also be responsible for notifying elected officials and community boards in the surrounding area. There's some examples given down below. And then for anyone who wants to be getting notifications, there's a free notification system called Notify NYC, in which New Yorkers can get phone calls, text messages, or email alerts about anything from traffic and transit disruptions through other emergencies. You can sign up. All the information is below. There's multiple ways you can call, go online, follow them on Twitter, but there's different ways to access that information. Okay, and then finally, community engagement and resources. So this is, we show this slide every time, but there are ongoing community meetings that will be happening throughout design and construction. So we are still committed to holding roughly on a quarterly basis the NAC meetings, community board presentations. We will keep coming back here bi-monthly and presenting to all of you. And then we will also continue with our Chinatown stakeholder briefings as needed. And finally, of course, there's, in addition, in between some of the major meetings, and I know sometimes when you're anxious and you've got a lot of questions, waiting for the next meeting can feel like a really long time. So there's lots of other ways to reach out. In particular, I'm going to ask Nikita to go on camera and just greet the community board and remind everyone that she's out there every day and available as well.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Nikita Sin. I'm the CCO for the Manhattan BBJ program. My contact information is listed on this slide. I speak English, Cantonese, Mandarin, and Taishanese. The outreach team and I will try our best to serve as a bridge between the Manhattan BBJ project and the members of this community. I'm the first point of contact for this project. Please contact me if you have any questions or would like to be added to the neighborhood notification network. Sometimes it may take time for me to reply to your emails. Welcome to give me a call if I don't reply to your emails. Please leave me a voice message with your contact information if I miss your call. Sometimes your emails may be rerouted to the junk mailbox. It happened before. I have set reminders to check the junk mailbox as often as possible. I have met some of the community members. For those I haven't met in person yet, please feel free to drop by the CCI office. We strongly encourage to give me a call before to schedule an appointment before heading to my office. In case in a meeting or out in the neighborhood, if you can schedule a time in advance, the best hours to drop in visits are also listed on this slide. I see a couple hands raised. Are there questions?
Hi, Nikita. Are these questions for Nikita specifically, or are they? I see Andrea. Is that Andrea?
I'm sure there's a variety of questions, Pat, for a variety of people. Let's just take them in order. I will go last.
Actually, I always start with Alice. Did you have anything, Alice?
No, I let other people go. That's okay. Thanks. If something comes up, I'll let you know.
Thank you.
I see Andrea.
So hi, as someone who works across the street and is there every day, I would just like to say that more needs to be done about the noise mitigation, because that constant jackhammering is really, really disruptive. You have people living right across the street on Baxter. I know it doesn't meet your exceedances on all your monitors, but you know what? Data, data is biased. It depends where you catch it and where your things are located. That constant jackhammering is horrible. okay? And there's dust, and I know it doesn't meet your environmental monitors and all those things, but you know what? I know I see what I see with my eyes. I hear what I hear with my ears. I can breathe the air. I know what I'm seeing is not right. And also, I don't know how much money this project is getting for the dismantle, but you should be embarrassed that you're using duct tape to tape up HEPA filters to a senior center and a daycare. You can't do better than duct tape for a HEPA filter, and that's what you show as like how you're going to mitigate the harm to senior citizens and the vulnerable children next door. And you're going to put up like a blanket, like 3 blankets. That's your noise mitigation. You should be embarrassed. You should be embarrassed.
Get an
We as
answer.
taxpayers are funding this. We deserve better treatment than this.
Let's get an answer.
So, you
Lauren?
know, like 3 blankets and duct tape. That's really embarrassing. You really should be
Andrea,
embarrassed to show that as like, you know, as some sort of like, you know.
Let's get an answer. Hold on. Unless you have something else to add to it, let's get an answer.
Well, I just want to go back and remind everyone, we had a number of slides on what we're doing for environmental mitigation. The HEPA filters, again, were not a requirement. They were an additional thing that we were providing to the Chungpack residents if they wanted to install them in their windows. But we have a number of other mitigation measures in place that really are state of the art that is deploying. And again, I understand that you're feeling that your subjective, your experience, that you see dust and you're hearing noise, and that it is disruptive. Construction is disruptive. I will acknowledge that. But what we can do is follow all city, state, and federal regulations. We can perform our constant monitoring and making sure that, while I know it's very aggravating, we are staying below safe levels and we are not harming the community. So I don't know that I'm going to be able to provide you with an answer that's going to make you happy. It's an ongoing construction project, and I can acknowledge that it's disruptive, and we're trying to move as quickly as we can to finish this phase of the project. But it will be ongoing for a little while. And I just appreciate you sharing your experience here.
And Andrea, are they working within the prescribed hours? Are they working after? Are they working at times they shouldn't be working?
The times seem to be okay, but it's just like the constant jackhammering. That jackhammering does not let up. Like the people who live around there, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it.
From the south, from what was the South Tower. I've lived with construction for 21 years. I know. But if they're working within the prescribed hours, there isn't much we can do about it. So keep your eye on it. If they're working outside of hours, you can let us know and you can call 311. Okay? Thank you.
Also, sorry, I'm gonna stop sharing the presentation just so it's a little more sort of face to face. But if anyone has a question about a slide, I can pull it back up and refer back to it if needed.
That was the schedule. It was the second slide, I think, that had the schedule on it.
Oh, you want me to pull that up? Sorry. Sorry, just as I stopped sharing, I didn't realize you were asking me to put it back up on screen. Give me a moment.
Yeah. And then, Jared, you had a question. Thank you. I just wanted to be able to.
Sure.
And take care of it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Jared?
Yeah, I just had actually 3 quick questions. 2 were just clarifying questions about some of the stuff on the slides. As far as the crane goes, is that going to be a crane that's mounted to the side of the building? Because you were talking about firming up the ground. Is that something that's removable?
Rich, can you speak to that?
Yep, absolutely. It is a crawler crane. It is mounted on the ground under its own tracks. So it has the ability to lay down in any storms or any inclement weather, and it's able to access the parts of the building that we need to access.
Got it. Okay. And I assume there's a plan in place in the event of inclement weather, because obviously there have been crane collapses in the past in the city.
Yes, there's crane protocols that are built into our permits of how we lay the crane down, where we place it during inclement weather.
Got it. My other question was the Sally Port. That's for which building? It's not for the ones that are being dismantled. Obviously, there's still an active jail.
It's for the courthouse. So the courthouse. I'm not in DOC operations, but it has holding cells and court dates that people in custody have to go to.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. And then my last question was just, other than asbestos, what other contaminants are the air monitors seeking?
Dust, particulates in the air.
Got it. I mean, just dust, not anything specific.
Nothing specific. We have air monitors outside of our asbestos air work areas, where we actually use duct tape. Duct tape is used to seal pieces of plastic together to create an airtight seal in order to maintain negative pressure inside of asbestos abatement work zones. So outside of those work zones, we place air monitors that can, they have pumps on them. They suck the air through, and if any asbestos fibers are caught in that pump, we're aware of them. We're able to address if we have a break in our containment. But that's separate from air monitors for dust.
Right. I guess the question is though, other than dust, which seems like a very sort of generalized term, and asbestos, which we all know what it is, are there other specific contaminants that are of particular concern that?
At this time, no, there are not.
Okay. Thanks.
No problem.
Christine?
Thanks so much, Pat. So Lauren, I have a question for you, and I'm wondering if you can expand the air monitor HEPA filter, sorry, not the air monitors, the HEPA filters, to be given them to businesses in the Chung Pak building as well as the residents. And then also, as you heard from Andrea, people across the street are also struggling with dust and stuff like that. Is there a reason why we can't bring the HEPA filters out to more people, especially if people can't afford it? Maybe if it's a
And to tag on, do they need to sign any waiver of liability to be given those? Are there
good question.
forms or questions that they would need to sign to be able to have them?
Because it's of concern. I hear you saying that they're not meeting the levels of a problematic level. It's still problematic. It may not be legally problematic, but it's problematic for the people. So what can we do as a community and as a government agency to help these people?
Okay, so for the first part, let us go back and talk with the team and see what's feasible and how much we could expand that particular offering. I don't want to make a promise here on this call, but let us talk to the team and figure that out. Justine, we'll get back to you on that one. As for the second part, I don't believe so. Rich, when you were providing the HEPA filters to some of the Chung Pak residents, were they required to sign anything for those to be handed out?
So, no, we gave them out in good faith. The immediately adjacent neighbors, in order to work with them, we gave them out. Anybody is concerned about that, it's something we'll have to reevaluate. If it's something that people want to have waivers and all that, we'll reevaluate what we're able to provide and what we're able to do for the community.
We're not looking for the waivers. What we're looking for is the filters to be widely distributed.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I'm sure.
Right, so we gave them to the immediately adjacent, near the gymnasium where the windows were immediately adjacent to our work area. When it comes to widespread distribution, that's something that we could take into consideration and discuss internally, but that's something that we need to internally discuss, and we'll have to get back to you.
That would be great.
What we're able to do.
To us on that.
Just to
Thank
be
you,
clear-
Richard, and thank you, Lauren.
Just to be clear on what those are, though, we're talking about those are just the filter themselves. There's no electronic, mechanical aspect to it, right? We're
No,
talking
it is
about
not a purifier. It is simply a HEPA filter fabric.
Yeah.
Got it.
A HEPA filter fabric. It's not like a HEPA machine.
No, it's just a fabric.
And where are they going to put it?
They put it in the window immediately adjacent to the work area.
What if they have doors?
It wasn't for that. This was done in good faith to help
So-
the neighbor
so doors-
immediately adjacent.
Yeah, doors would remain closed except when someone is coming in and out immediately. The issue is that for people who are immediately adjacent to the construction site, they wanted to keep their windows open. It's nice weather. We're enjoying the airflow. I think
What about
so. They were feeling a little stifled. So to keep their windows wide open right next to the construction site, they were just complaining a little bit. They were feeling too much dust was coming in. So it's just a filter to basically allow you to keep the window open and prevent airflow can still come in. Provide some ventilation, but no particles were coming through.
I hear you, Lauren. My question to you is, what about providing air filters
I mean, whether it's this brand or not, but this is an air filter that I personally purchased. I don't live near you. I live in Battery Park City, but an air filter that's a machine that you could buy and sell and give to people, because that actually would filter the air in the apartment beyond just the window that they would have to stick it in.
So again, like, we're doing this constant monitoring of the air to confirm that what is being put out into the air from the construction site is not something that the community needs to be concerned about. It is not something that's harmful. It is staying below any harmful levels. So that is the first line of defense, is just ensuring that like there isn't actually a need for this active mechanical filtering. Again, Rich and his team kind of voluntarily distributed some additional ones for people who were right next to the construction site so they could keep their windows open. But
Lauren,
we'll have to go back and
pardon
discuss.
me, as somebody who lived through 9/11 and who believed it when the government told me that it was safe to come home and the air was safe to breathe and the water was safe to drink. And I have and am recovering from breast cancer and thyroid cancer. I don't believe that the government standards are good enough. So what I'm going to say to you again is, can you go to the next level and actually give people air filters who cannot afford to move or have businesses there? So I guess that's what I'm going to tell you, as I'm putting myself out there as a person who's been affected by government standards that are not quite government standards. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Justine. Again, that's not something I'm going to be able to answer right here tonight definitively. Let's go back and talk to the team and see if we can expand the program.
Thank you.
Would it be
Let us,
possible for me to jump in for a second? Hi,
Go ahead,
everybody.
Robin.
I'm back at the quality of life meeting. It's like deja vu all over again. But Justine, in response to what you said and asked, there's no evidence from the monitoring that's going on that there are toxins. The monitors, I think, are doing a job of monitoring, which did not happen after 9/11. I, like you, had breast cancer also. I think that, we've learned a lot since then, and my understanding, and I'm relatively new to this project, so I don't pretend to be an expert, but the HEPA filters allow people to at least have their windows open and the dust is kept out. I don't know that there's any evidence that air filters are required, but I defer to the team and Lauren to look into that. But on the face of it, I'm not sure that we're at that point. I think it's a good issue to raise, but I'm not sure that that is the answer. So thank you, and I will be quiet now.
Robin,
Robin.
when they catch up, Robin, beyond this stage, there is asbestos that has been found in the towers. So there is toxins in the towers. It is already been documented and already noted and told to us by DDC. So for our perspective, getting the air filters out there now before and getting people used to having them instead of having to scramble when the asbestos is flying during the demo would be highly appreciated.
So the asbestos remediation process, it happens, it is contained. There is a separate asbestos air monitoring program that is ongoing to confirm that those particles are not going out into the community. So as Robin was saying, the air monitors that you're requesting, they are not required. We are performing constant active air monitoring to ensure that that is the case. But Justine, again, I hear the requests, and it's something that we can go back and discuss with the city.
I really appreciate that, Lauren, because I think that having some sort of air monitors beyond something just in people's windows would be helpful, because people come in and out, they carry the particles on their clothing, they carry it on their shoes, their pets, if they have pets, carried it in, and all of that affects people. So I really appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you, Robin, for your input.
Yeah, having lived through the same
Oh,
that
I know you did.
and Tammy did, and Pat, I don't expect that there's going to be asbestos flying around.
I certainly hope not.
There will be protocols in place to ensure that the asbestos is contained. I mean, it's not something I would worry about at all, but I hear what you're saying otherwise. And Lauren will certainly look into that
Thank
on
you.
behalf of all of us. Thank you.
Rob, tell everyone who you're representing so that they know who you are. Yep, Robin?
Robin is CAU with the mayor's office. She's our new representative. I
was going to say I'm not with the Construction Command Center
No.
anymore, but I'm in the mayor's Office of Community Affairs, and I'm Manhattan Borough Director. And I have become increasingly involved in this project. And you can imagine that it is personal to me because of what I went through, and many of us on this call went through 20 plus years ago. So I'm watching.
Okay, thank you, Robin. It feels like old times. Thank you.
It does indeed.
So I'm trying to see if there are any other hands up. Vera. Hi, Vera.
Hi. You know, I just want to add on to the air quality, the noise. We have to remember we're talking about very vulnerable communities who are the seniors and also the children. So, you know, whatever levels are set for whoever's a normal person is not the same as for people who are children, human beings who are children and elderly. That's number one. Number two, we actually did some sampling of the Chongpak Center, and there were residual 9/11 dust in the area. So we have to be very careful about whatever demolition is going on, whatever asbestos removal is going on, so as not to aggravate and harm. I mean, the recent New York Times article said that noise actually takes off years of our lives. It was surprising to me, but you know, the sound of a train going by constantly triggers. So especially triggers stressors that are, you know, can cause you to have, could ultimately lead to a shorter span in life. So who knows, maybe Pat, you and me, we're being around 9/11, our lives are shortened from all this. But I think, Lauren, you have to be particularly sensitive to this particular area and what we're talking about. So a simple request as to HEPA filters it should not be a difficult thing to do. And with respect to the sound, as Andrea is saying, I know for a fact that the seniors, many of them have had excruciating issues with respect to just the gymnasium removal alone, and their ability to call 311 when they don't speak English is near impossible. So that's another factor that I want to put out there and for people to understand. With respect to air quality, I want to go back to the Canadian haze. And my question for you, Lauren, was, I'm not sure if I understood this yesterday, but did you say work was still going on during the Canadian haze time when the monitors were triggering exceedances, even though it wasn't from your construction? Were your workers still working under these unhealthy and hazardous conditions?
So the workers were continuing with work on site. They were prioritizing work that could be done indoors, and they were doing a lot of preparatory work so as not to be exacerbating dust conditions.
Okay, so they were also working indoors. As we all know, the indoor air quality was also bad too, right? And especially indoors in that location, it's all open. It's air through going in and out. So working indoors, working outdoors, there's no difference. Am I correct?
I don't think I'm the expert to speak to that. I don't know if it's exactly the same, but I hear your point.
Yeah, and during that time when there were exceedances, whether it was triggered by construction or not, I do think that we should, I would ask that you be notifying us on a daily basis, if not immediately. Anytime there's any exceedances, it would be great if we would be notified immediately on noise or air quality. Can we have that?
So we have committed to providing the monthly monitoring reports. If folks are seeing something and they have a question or an issue about what's going on site, if of course there is something where, as again, we went through the emergency response slide, if there are exceedances where the community needs to be notified because there's a health alert or something is happening, we will notify you. There are things on site where sometimes, for example, an air monitor might spike, and it's not because construction activities are actually contributing to air quality issues in the neighborhood. It might be something where a bus stops by right in front of a monitor for a moment and idles in front of it. So that's a bus that's going down the city streets every single day. The fact that it paused right in front of a monitor might cause our monitor to escalate. This is not something where I think it's going to be productive to be constantly notifying the community. It's going to cause additional like alarm that's unnecessary. So this is why our team gathers the data, we assess what's going on, and at the end of the month, we compile all of this, we make sure we prepare a narrative, we provide an explanation for what happened, what caused it, what we did to mitigate it if that was necessary, and we put that data out. The good news, and I want to focus on this, the good news is that so far to date, there have not been any exceedances caused by our construction activity. So I know that there's a lot of concern around this. I understand that, but I do just want everyone to focus on this and understand, like in this case, actually no news is good news. We haven't needed to, roll this out and notify people that there's been an incident where you need to be concerned, because our construction activities have not been causing exceedances.
In the future, when the exceedances are caused by, let's say, construction activities, I would like to be notified immediately and know what the protocols were done on your part to alleviate the situation. I would request that. Can we have that?
Yeah, if there's an incident where we need to notify the community because health might be impacted, we will notify you.
I think, Lauren, I emailed this to you and I've said this to you before. All of this sounds really great, but the issue that the community has is a month is too long. You're telling us daily monitoring is not possible. We have
I'm saying that compiling the data and preparing these reports, Tammy, we have agreed to do monthly monitoring reporting in response to a resolution that came from this community board last year in May asking us for monthly monitoring reporting. So we were previously, he previously set the standard at quarterly monitoring reporting. The community board, after many discussions like this, asked us to increase that to monthly monitoring reporting, which we did. We went back, we revised all of our protocols, we've embedded all that information in the RFPs for the future contracts. The city went back and we adjusted our contracts. So we're doing everything differently, again, in response to this community board's request and resolution. We did also ask at that time that if we're going to update and change all of our protocols to do this on a monthly basis, that we not revisit this again later and then be asked to continue to increase it. And well, now monthly is not good enough, now do it weekly. So we are holding up our end of the bargain here. We are doing the monthly monitoring reporting, and we do ask for some cooperation here on that.
Well, I think you're getting cooperation, but I also think that it hasn't assuaged the community. So while I appreciate, I don't ever remember saying, oh, don't worry, we'll never revisit this again. That doesn't actually sound very community board-like. No offense intended. It really doesn't. But I think the problem, as I've said to you before, is that we have other sites that are brownfield cleanup sites that can do more robust monitoring and information sharing, looking ahead through the years that we will have this project and others in the neighborhood. And you were here listening to so many of the other concerns for other tiny projects that are going to be shorter termed. I think that monthly reporting hasn't assuaged the community. Daily reporting is something you said you can't do, but maybe there's something that we can have a dialogue as you're proceeding forward with the larger project and understand what, because as we know, the contracts are not signed for the design build yet. So there is an opportunity in those documents to have more frequent and robust monitor reporting back. You're telling me you can't do it in the deconstruction projects. I'm not so sure that all those contracts are signed, and whether or not it becomes something that's weekly is something that should be seriously considered, because we don't like having the community come and feel so unsafe either. This is not the middle of Kansas. It's the middle of a 9/11 zone. And this area was hugely impacted. And while we appreciate that you understand that and Robin can speak to it, we know that there's asbestos that's going to be happening abatement. We know that there are new buildings coming down, and it just needs to be a little bit more robust. And with that, I pass it to Alice.
Thanks. Not to beat a dead horse, but because I chaired that very committee where that resolution came from, I would really like to know, I agree with Tammy. I don't recall ever saying that we confirmed we would never revisit the question. I mean, I think I just don't recall that. And if you would be good enough to perhaps send where that was said or when that was said, because I don't like to, misrepresent our committee's work. So I don't remember that either. And then I guess the other question is at 250 Water Street, which is our, very helpful precedent for a lot of this that we asked for here, particularly the independent monitor. The daily report, you're taking these reports daily, right? So this report comes in off a machine daily. Is that correct? Or hourly? How often do the reports come to you?
I see the reports on a monthly basis. The team is monitoring in real time. The issue isn't, Alice, it's not whether how quickly the data is being produced. The issue, which I've touched on a few times here, is that there are a lot of false readings that come through, right? There are things that might cause something to spike. Sometimes it's police sirens going down Baxter Street. It's not things that are related to our construction activities. If we're just putting out raw data, I think it's going to cause a lot of alarm. It's not going to be substantiated by any explanation with Gramercy. There's not going to be any information about what do these readings mean, what caused it, what did they do, did they go out on site, did they investigate what happened? It's just putting out alarms, right? It's going to scare people. We're going to be flooded with phone calls, and we're going to have to do the same thing that we're already doing, which is gather the data, have Gramercy provide the narrative, bring it to our team, let us review, let us ask some questions, make sure we get it ironed out, make sure these reports are clear and communicating clearly to the community what took place, what happened, when it happened, and then we issue them out. So there are protocols in place for a reason. We're not trying to obscure data. We're just trying to make sure we can communicate clearly with the community. That's the intent here.
I appreciate where you're coming from. I mean, I understand that you don't want a lot of false alarms, but in a 30-day period, that's a long time. That's 30 days where we really, I can't imagine there would be so many false alarms. And if that's the case, that's concerning about the equipment being used. I really think that at a minimum, I don't know, bi-monthly or weekly. I mean, I don't understand why we can't see them daily, which is what's offered to us, if I'm not mistaken, at the 250 Water Street site by the engineers there, but I'm not sure. I don't want to misrepresent them. But I do think that seems like an awfully long time. And I'm not sure if it would be really, I understand you don't want to waste time. I mean, nobody wants to waste time and nobody wants unnecessary hysteria and calls. That no one's going to disagree with. Between that and the 30 days versus daily, there must be something that the community can receive simply by going on the site and looking. I mean, you don't have to report in, it's just going to be a site. And then on that site, it could state after a week, Wednesday and Friday were false alarms or whatever it is. And do it to respond weekly or something. It's just a suggestion because this point keeps coming up and it seems like one that actually could be pretty easily solved among many. So it's just a thought, which I would appreciate further consideration, and also just a feedback on that earlier question as to when we stated we would never come back on this issue. Thanks.
Sure. I think that may have been a discussion that I had with Lucian, and I understand he's not here anymore, but we definitely did this because it was like, okay, because we've gone through a lot of these discussions previously at the start of the project. We talked for months about the frequency of the monitoring reporting. You guys issued the resolution. We were like, okay, we'll make this change, but we don't want to make this change and then make this change again and again and again. I think it also, it makes it harder for me to go back and, advocate for things with the city. It's like, well, they put it in a resolution. This is what the community board's asking for. Let's do it. Let's make the change. If we're then setting a precedent that we go through that and then we're just going to be asked to make another change again in the future. So we're working together. I'm trying to work with you. I also just want to note, I know you're citing 250 Water Street as a precedent and they're doing more frequent reporting. It's not quite comparing apples to apples here. That is a brownfield remediation site, right? It was built on top of a former mercury factory. There's I don't want to say real environmental concerns. Obviously, there's real concerns in the community and the site as well, but this is more typical standard construction techniques and activities that the city sees around the city every day that's happening at our site. 250 Water Street is really an exception to that. It's a brownfield remediation site. So I don't want to hold that up as this is the precedent for what should be happening with every construction project around the city, because that's just not true.
No, but this is also an environmentally toxic site that has enough toxins that it probably could have been declared a brownfield. I think that came up and that was never established that it wouldn't have been. You elect to enter that program. Obviously, the developer gets tax benefits and hence why they do it. But in this case, the city wasn't planning on, electing to do that. But I think if we compared those two sites, I'm not sure how, in fact, accurate that is, that this is a standard site versus 250 Water Street. I think there's more similarities there than not, but be that as it may, I think our experience there in terms of community concerns and environmental concerns is something that we are looking at, and it's helpful here. And we'll go back and forth a million times, but I think you've explained that you had this conversation with Lucia, not with Tammy and I, and that may have been why we did not know about this alleged promise made that we wouldn't review this again. But alas, the community wants to review it again, so here it is. So,
Alice,
there you
even
go.
if they did, the community made no such promise.
Thanks.
Thank you, Alice.
Can I
Thanks
ask
for your
a question?
comments. Sure, go ahead. Well,
So-
I'm sorry, Pat, I'm not the chair.
Oh, Lauren, I just, maybe you've already mentioned
Pat,
this.
wait, so sorry, Mitchell. It seems like Pat's talking, but Pat, I can't hear anything you're saying. You're muted.
Sorry, saying if this discussion is over. Mitch, hold on a second. So Lauren, will you get back to us with whether you can do this weekly or bi-weekly, or twice a month, or something else other than the monthly?
You've got a lot of folks from the city here on this call tonight. We're hearing these concerns, but I'm also not making any promises on this call. Again, this is something that we did have a lot of back and forth on previously, and we already, we adjusted our activities based on the CV1 resolution. So we will, of course, need to discuss this again. We're hearing everything that's happening tonight, but I don't want saying we're going to go back and check on this and discuss it to be seen as a potential promise. So, but yes, we will have a discussion.
Taking it as a promise that you'll go back and discuss it.
Yes.
Okay, and get back.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, Mitch.
Okay, Lauren, you had mentioned just a few minutes ago that once you collect the data, that a company, Gramercy, analyzes the data, correct?
Yes, I mean, yes. They
Okay,
take a
so
look at the data.
just for my understanding, is Gramercy like part of your general organization, or they're an outside company?
So, okay, so Gramercy is the contractor that's actually performing the work, the construction work on the site. They have a
Okay.
third-party subcontractor. They're an outside party that's contracted to perform all the monitoring. So
Okay,
there's a
that answered my
professional monitoring firm that's doing all of the monitoring, and they're providing the updates, and they're the ones who would alert Gramercy if they're, approaching any of these thresholds.
But they're hired by Gramercy. So, and this is not directed to you specifically. So I'm not, this is not a personal thing. I personally have a problem in general with this. It's almost like self-certification, self-analysis, where it could be accurate, but I always feel a more legitimate, like an outside certification. And I don't expect that to happen like on a daily or weekly or monthly basis. But once it's you guys, it's almost like certifying the person that's paying you, not you personally. Pat and Tammy, what about requesting like an outside certification to monitor that? Because things could be smudged, whether intentionally or not intentionally, based on 1,000 reasons. And I don't trust 100% an agency certifying itself. And
Tammy, if I could just chime in, Mitchell, you're absolutely right. We've asked for that. Our council member asked for that last year in
Okay.
a letter. We've asked for it. We have a resolution asking for an independent
Great.
monitor. We have continually asked for that. It's a very good point.
Well,
Thanks.
that, like I said, I'm not on the other committee, so I didn't know that. So I support that 1,000%, guys. That's very important.
Well, and if we had an independent monitor, maybe they could help with weekly reports.
Okay. So thank you. Just another thing to consider, Lauren, and like I said, not specifically to you. That's just a general feeling I have in any type of project. Thank you.
Understood. I'm not
Any
taking it personally, Mitchell. Thank you.
Any questions from the committee? If not, we're going to see if there are any questions from the community. No other questions from the committee. I don't see any hands. All right. Anyone from the community, Tammy or Anej? Tammy, is that your hand up?
Sorry. I was replying to somebody in the chat who's chatting me about Lauren, can you please send us off where the public may see the reporting and sign up?
Wait, send us where the public can see the reporting and sign off?
Sign up to get reporting.
Oh, so the reports are made public on our website. We publish those on our website. The link is in this presentation. We can also put it into the chat. Yeah.
Yep, that would be great. Just let me go through the questions that have come to us. There's a lot of questions and comments about the fresh intake valves for the buildings like at Chung Pak and finding a way to do HEPA filters for the fresh air intake because that will circulate through the building. And whether or not you can have your translator talk to the building management over at Chung Pak to understand how they can do that.
So our community construction liaison, who does speak Chinese, she attends the weekly meetings at Chung Pak. And again, I understand everyone's kind of jumping on this with the HEPA filters, but I just want to underscore again, we are doing the monitoring daily on site at all times to ensure that these were an extra measure that we were providing to to the residents who are right next to the site, but it is not something that is required. We are not producing conditions on the site that requires HEPA filters. So I just don't want people coming out of this meeting feeling super alarmed that they don't have a HEPA filter and now they're at risk. That is not the case. We are performing monitoring to ensure that we are staying well below safe health levels. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. The last thing I would want to do is to unnecessarily alarm people because we showed some additional measures that we were helping to provide some Chung Pak residents. So just want to make sure that that's clear.
I don't think it's not a panic mode. It's a preparation mode. And I appreciate what you're saying, Lauren. We're not here to panic. We're here to educate and prepare the public. That's the more important aspect. Taking a look down at hands raised. I don't see any more. I think I have addressed the public's comments that have come in by chat.
Hands.
Do you see any hands for me?
No hands.
Great.
Okay.
So the only other thing, Lauren, that someone has posted was their concerns were the air quality monitors only caption PM10s and PM 2.5 readings. Those type of readings rarely catch silica dust and concrete debris. And that perhaps taking a look at what the readings are capturing and adjusting those for the lowest possible in an environmentally dense area might be better. So I'm just reporting out what I'm reading.
I appreciate that. I do just want everyone to know, we have environmental experts on our team who assess what are the likely conditions that would be caused by the types of activities that this construction work actually entails. We also refer to the EIS, the environmental impact statements and environmental impact review that was done at the very beginning of this project to see what they recommended. So there's a lot of levels of review and consideration that already went into establishing the parameters for what we're monitoring to make sure that what we are monitoring is appropriate for this project and tailored to this project. But I hear all the concerns, and I know there's a lot of confusion out there because again, there's lots of different types of things and different projects in the city are monitoring for different things based on specific conditions on the site. So I totally understand where that question is coming from. I just want to respond and say that this is something that has been reviewed thoroughly by multiple experts on the team.
Jared, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Yeah, just going back to before when I asked the question, I was told that you're monitoring for asbestos and for just generalized dust. What are you guys specifically monitoring for at this particular site? That sort of, I mean, what does dust mean?
So the monitors outside of the asbestos zone monitor for asbestos fibers. The monitors that are on the perimeter of the job site monitor for what we're calling dust, but it's concrete particulate, it's silica. That's what we're looking for because that is the dust that we are generating.
Right. So the question that was just raised about the ability to actually perceive that in the atmosphere or in the immediate environment, is that not a fair question?
The question was, are we monitoring the proper particulate size, correct?
Yeah, I mean that's ultimately,
And that was, and these monitors were calibrated for the dust we are generating from the work we are performing. So they are calibrated to the correct particle size.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Any other questions? If not, I still wanted to circle back, Lauren, to the question that was asked by someone from the community about whether someone from your construction team can go over and speak to the buildings that are are located at the site and explain to them how to install HEPA filters on their intake valve.
They would have, I don't have intimate knowledge of every building's HVAC system. They'd have to talk to their HVAC system, their building engineer to do so. I'm not intimate to the knowledge of all of their HVAC systems.
Okay. All right, so there are some questions, Lauren, that you're going to get back to us with answers because we're not going to see you again until September unless something comes up between then and now. I know there were questions that were asked out there. I have, well, the HEPA filter was one of the big questions about whether you could get HEPA filter machines, which we all received 9/11, to give to buildings that are in close proximity to the site. You'll get back to us about that. And then the discussion again about whether the reporting can be more frequent than once a month. So those are two major issues that we're interested in having you discuss and come back and let us know. Okay?
Thank you, Pat.
If I don't see any other hands and there are no other hands from the public, then we're going to thank Lauren and Rich, and we will see you in September and speak to you hopefully before with some answers to those questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Have a good
Thanks.
summer.
Yeah, enjoy the summer. Thanks. All right. So for the committee, we, Francis, are you here? Francis?
She's here.
Francis. Yes. The committee members should have received a.
I am here.
Hi, Francis. Hi. Go ahead. You can, it's your topic, so go ahead and explain that you wanted everyone to read and be prepared for July's meeting to discuss the reso that we received about mental health, mental illness.
Yes. Tammy, I am far away and I don't have hands on my material. Tammy, could you help me with this in terms of
Let me pull the email up. Ooh. Let me find
Are
the
you in
email.
Thailand, Francis?
Right.
She's someplace fabulous.
Yeah, she's always in.
Are you in Thailand, Francis?
You received a
No.
packet mail from Francis and probably Tammy asking
they
you to
send
read
it
that.
out?
Yes, I received it. I'm sure it was sent out. Did people receive it? I'm seeing Mimi shake her head no.
I'm wondering if we didn't.
Okay.
What's the name of it again?
No,
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think I saw anything, but I
Yeah,
don't know.
I didn't see.
Okay, so then the office will send it out again. It's a packet of information about a reso that was passed by CB4 about mental
This is
illness.
mental health.
Right.
The mental health. So community board, it was a group of community boards that got together to have it was sent out to everybody over kind of a week ago. So it's been a while, but CB1 and 6 passed resolution. CB3 has already worked on it one as well. And the full board of CB2 voted last month on it. For a mental health, basically updates and mental illness resolutions. It was sent out to, goodness gracious.
Where's reso? It's not their reso?
Their reso was there. So,
So,
you
I
know
mean,
what?
we don't-
It's okay. I'll recirculate it to everybody because it doesn't sound like it's going to happen today. So and it
going on?
didn't make the full agenda. So let's get this out for everyone. I know some people had seen it because people commented back to me. But we will send out the resolutions from the other, our sister community boards and take it up in July.
Right. So we just need everyone to read the information that's being
Please,
sent
yeah.
out for discussion for July's meeting. And as I always ask, and especially the new members of our committee, if you have any topics that you think you want to, not think, that you want to bring to quality of life, would you please shoot a message to Mariama, CCing Mariama, Tammy, Mariama, and myself to let us know what new topics you'd like to bring before the Quality of Life Committee. They could be rats, they can be, construction noise. Those are things that we cover. We can talk about the city composting, any topic that you think you want to bring to the committee, would you please just shoot us an email? And welcome to the new members. And thank you everyone for attending tonight. Thank you, Tammy and Onej, for doing all the tech stuff. We appreciate it. And
Not a problem.
anything anyone want to say before we say goodnight?
I'll just say that I look forward to seeing everybody in person next month.
Next month and next week.
And next
Okay.
week, Tuesday at full board.
I
Thank
won't be there,
you.
I told
Yep. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a lovely night.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Pat, are you adjourning so we can turn the recording off?
I am adjourning. Thank you.